I'm here to tell you folks, the world has fallen. The fascist globalist overlords, they're implementing the Great Reset. You don't believe me? I've seen the tapes. Watch it, folks. Watch as these pot-bellied Zoomer goblins work with the Illuminati to pit us against each other. I promise I'd be a good boy.
I'm a good boy.
There's only one cure, folks, and that's liberty. And there's no better channel to find freedom than Fabian Liberty. Anarchy is order. Government is civil war.
You're offensive. Police lives matter?
We're just trying to do school.
What?
You guys have the same sticker as the others.
But this is our space. You're making the space uncomfortable. But you're white.
You're fucking a white male!
What is one way you combat racism? I don't root for white people on the sidewalk.
They want your wallets, they want your guns, they want the wieners off your sons. Democrats.
Oh, we should film
So let's say, for the sake of argument, that all of the water levels around the world rise by let's say 5 feet. You think that people aren't going to just sell their homes and move?
Just one small problem. Sell their houses to who, Ben? Fucking Aquaman! Vaccine!
Children, they're spreading COVID throughout the population at higher numbers. And people are not entitled to turn themselves into deadly biological weapons by spraying disease-laden aerosols wherever they choose, randomly killing innocent people. This is not freedom, this is homicide, and willful ignorance is no excuse.
What the fuck?
Highest margin of victory yet. It's really impressive. Though, I'm starting to think he might have had help from the Russians.
Look at me, I'm a gay frog. I'm so cool, I'm so neat. I'll never have children and I'm sterilized. But the media says I'm totally cool. I'm a gay frog, I'm a gay fish. It's so good, and I think my daddy actually is.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Just waiting for everybody to get in here, making sure I got everything set up for a debate that's probably not going to happen. I just DM'd Destiny again and said, going live now. Heard nothing from you. Are you live tonight? There's an echo? Are you trolling me? Okay, well, you're the only one. I've only got one mic. Testing, testing, 1 2 1 2. No, I mean everyone else says it's fine. I haven't changed any of my settings, so that sounds like a you thing, brother. Maybe you have me open on 2 tabs or something. I don't know. The real question is all of your audio doubled? But I'm not seeing any issues, so sorry. You had 2 tabs open? That's funny. Yeah, so long story short, actually I'll just go through it because it looks like I'm not going to claim that Destiny is ducking a debate. Right? I understand that people get busy and that they're terrible at checking their DMs or whatever. But let me just go through kind of the whole spiel so everybody can have understanding of what happened. Since it looks like he's somehow incapable of checking his DMs. I mean, like, I don't want to assume he's ducking the debate. I would have guessed the most like Occam's razor is that he's just a busy person and he didn't give a fuck because I don't have any clout or anything. So it didn't even stick in his mind that he argued on Twitter, especially if you got fucking billion things going on in your life and you fucking, got a lot of court cases pending for your sexual deviances and, apparently you're out of town and you're getting a bunch of money to do events because people love to shit on you at this point, not actually respect you other than DGG. And, you don't check all your Twitter DMs. Like, I get it. It could be that he just looked into the case and was like, oh shit, I'm going to lose this. But nevertheless, let's go through it. And see if it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't look like the debate's going to happen, but I want to showcase what's going on. I want to make sure everybody knows that I'm not running from a fucking debate with Destiny. And that Destiny did say that he was available for a debate today. And then I said I'd do it. Then he responded to that post. Then I DM'd him and he didn't answer. Right? I just want to make sure that everyone, like the timeline is there, but let me pull this forward. Kind of showcase you guys what's going on. But if he doesn't get back to me or anything and nobody gets to him that hey, there's somebody saying they're supposed to debate you. Let me check to make sure he's not streaming again one last time.
The trans athlete
doesn't look like he's streaming here. Let's see if he's streaming on Kick. Just saw his thing. Yep, no streams. There's a chat of people saying that they're busting nuts or something.
Listen, okay.
All right. I'm going to switch this to live chat. But yeah, if Destiny doesn't show up or nobody DMs him or anything and he just kind of blows over, maybe we'll reschedule. Maybe he's a pussy and he pussed out. Either way, I just kind of want to go through this so you can kind of see what I said, what he said. And make sure that nobody is accusing me of running, because these people love to be like, oh, you'll never debate. And I think it's Destiny that wouldn't debate me, which I said before. So we'll get into this. Let me just move this over here. All right. Zoom in. All right. So I saw this post. Hold on. Let me cut the music off. This music gets fucking copyright stricken all the time anyways. I have 4 videos awaiting. I have to manually review and go through and be like, no, I have a right to play this music. I pay for Pretzel Rocks. Every single fucking video I have to go through that process, by the way. Fucking IP bullshit. And they take somewhere between a quarter to half your money if you don't fight it. These fucking companies that the IP is so bullshit. Fucking every Randroid that's IP's great. Please, for the love of God, cut that shit out. IP's terrible. It's abused so many times. But anyways, moving forward. So this is a video Destiny posted, right?
So the government decides what's hateful or not, and whenever they make that decision, they decide to censor you arbitrarily. And people in Europe are okay with this? Man. Y'all need to throw some TNT into the water or some shit. Like, you can't let this happen. Yeah, bro, you're going to let these clowns boss you around. No, we're not? Well, then organize and get rid of them.
All right, so, hey, let's go, Thundercock. So, just to let everybody know, I'm just going over what occurred because, I want to make sure nobody thinks that I'm running from Destiny, because I'm not. I'm ready for a link whenever he wants to send me one. It doesn't look like he'll pay attention to his DMs or send me one. So I'm just kind of going through that. But regardless, so that is him reacting to J.D. Vance's speech was it Belgium, to a bunch of European nations. Okay, like that is him reacting to like learning for the first time, I guess, that it's that bad, that the hate speech laws are like banning, AFD because they're like a Nazi party or whatever, that like, people are getting arrested for praying outside of abortion clinics, right? That like people are getting, charged because of like mean things they said on Twitter, and the left claims, oh, they're inciting violence. It's bullshit. Like I've seen, like we've seen multiple cases. Obviously these are edge cases, but they are scary, right? When you see someone, I think the most egregious one I saw was a man in the UK that tweeted out, and in the video they talk about, this is your tweet, right? Where he tweeted out that he's sick of all these Pakistani flags in London. And then they came to him and arrested him in his home because he said on Twitter that he was sick of seeing Pakistani flags on the street in his own country. Yeah, silently praying, by the way. Yeah, silently praying is illegal within a certain distance of abortion clinics. Now, some of the dubious claims that J.D. Vance was making about like people not allowed to pray in their home because the abortion clinic was built near their home is like a thing that's theoretically true by the law, but like hasn't been enforced that way in any way. Today's edge case is tomorrow's precedent. I agree. Yeah, I agree, which is why it can be considered scary, right? But that's what he's reacting to. So Destiny is like put up this video saying this is his opinion on government censorship in Europe. Here's his opinion on government censorship in America. When am I debating Destiny? Whenever he wants. He said that he would do it Tuesday. I'm here. I'll show you the DMs with Destiny. Wish I could pull up just Destiny's DMs. Right? These are some old ones. And then I said, hey, I'm free Tuesday all day, but preferably after 6 p.m. Eastern on Sunday. Going live now. Heard nothing from you. Are you live tonight? Now, I'm not left on red, so he hasn't necessarily seen them. But he said that he was free Tuesday. And then I replied and said, yeah, I'll be there. So it looks like he's not going to show up. I don't know if it's because he got busy, because he forgot about it or whatever. But, I don't see him live on Kick. I don't see him live on YouTube. So, nevertheless, I want to showcase that and what's going on so that when people are like, you ran from because I know DGG is going to accuse me of running from Destiny. So I'm just going over this so that people can see what occurred and make sure I'm not crazy, that I'm not like, you know what I mean? Like, and I don't want to accuse anybody of ducking. What did you get? Oh yeah, you can't say curse words and like my Streamlabs will catch you on that. Just for the record. My bots. I updated my bots a little bit just because I didn't know who might be coming in, and I've got some other things going on, and we don't have a ton of moderators right now. But I expect that there might be an influx of viewers over the next couple weeks. I have some unconfirmed things. Yeah, like and subscribe. I'll probably be, I feel like it's not really letting the cat out of the bag. I spoke with Tim Pool's booker, so I probably should be, it's not 100% confirmed, but like next Friday is looking like it. It might be this Friday if some things are going on, but I should be on Timcast Culture War podcast at least once. And yeah, I had a really good conversation with his booker. I'm not going to talk more about that. But like
she liked a lot of things that I said and a lot of the content that, you know, I discussed that we may or may not do in the future. So, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if I do well in that I'm probably there more than once. We'll see, fingers crossed. Yeah, and so like, and there's a couple other things I'm working on that I'm not ready to talk about yet, but I do expect that we'll probably get some new people in here, and I just was like, yeah, let me cut that shit on so that curse words are automatically just not in the chat until we balance out and figure out what's going on. I might take it away. We'll see. It all depends on like who's here and what's going on. Warning you now, never make me a mod. I get bored. I'm not making someone named Thundercock a mod. I got bored and will turn this chat into the killing fields. Just saying, I cannot be trusted with power. Yeah. So here's how I determine mods, right? People, oh, Rudy, what's up, dude? Fucking hello, let's go. I appreciate you. So, the way that I make mods is like, I look for people that are consistently here, people that join the Discord so that I can know that like they're like a part of conversations, a part of the community. And then I look for people that tend to be younger and tend to like troll a little and be a little on the edgy side. I don't pick people that are like Dudley Do-Rights to be mods to the best of my ability, because I want people that like understand internet lingo and understand when a joke is a joke and when something's not a joke, right? And if I pick like some Dudley Do-Right person to be a mod, then like I'm worried that they'll ban things that are just like normal memes or whatever. And obviously a moderator is somebody that's paying attention to chat when I'm not paying attention to chat. So those kind of like my criteria. You got to be in the Discord. You got to be active. You got to ask to be a mod. I don't mod people unless they ask. And then and you kind of got to be a little bit of, you got to be a little, I'm not saying you got to be a troll. Please don't start trolling in the hopes you become a mod, but like you can't be like a Dudley Do-Right, like, oh, that's mean. Like, I don't want those people. Yeah, but you're not that guy. I appreciate you. Let me just write that down. Thundercock. Thundercock, not great at adulting. Got it. I wrote it down. Just for you, so you know. Wrote it down for you. I appreciate it. So anyways, so that's you know, government censorship in Europe, which again is Asmongold reacting to what's going on in, you know, in the JD Vance speech and like hate speech laws. And then this is him saying government censorship in America. Oh, okay. All right. That happened. All right, X didn't like me being paused on this video for too long.
Yeah, then organize and get rid of him. It's hard to say whether he committed a crime, but there's a higher standard of conduct for people that are green card holders than people who are naturalized citizens. And he wasn't meeting that conduct.
I did forcibly mod Silver, but I made sure, I asked him, he said, do what you want to do. Okay, and Silver Ogre has been here for like 3 years. All right, so, you know, let me restart this.
Say whether he committed a crime, but there's a higher standard of conduct for people that are green card holders than people who are naturalized citizens. And he wasn't meeting that conduct, so he's getting deported, hopefully. And there should be? Yeah, they should be. And I support this completely. I hope they do this to more of them. We have enough troublemakers in the country already without importing new ones on green cards to start even more trouble. Who needs this?
So again, this is him reacting to learning about Mahmoud Khalil. Hopefully I'm saying his name right, whatever. Okay. Now, Destiny's claim here isn't really a claim at all, right? It's just a video, but he's trying to call out, and he will later, trying to call out the presumed hypocrisy of him and how he's, you know, for government censorship of speech in America, but not for it in Europe. Do I agree with the deportation for protesting? So I don't agree with any deportation for protesting. I also don't agree with that that he doesn't have a right to a trial. I think a trial is better, in my personal opinion, way better. You know, obviously it's not perfect because it's done by the state. I'm an anarchist, but I think you shouldn't be able to deport anybody unless they've committed a property crime. Okay? So, unless it's a property crime, as far as I'm concerned, or some violation of the non-aggression principle, I don't think the state has any right to deport anybody, and that includes illegal immigrants, as far as I'm concerned. Right? Would you force deporting communists? So, when it comes to communists, right? Being a communist is not a violation of the non-aggression principle. Okay, but it is saying that you espouse an ideology of might makes right. As is anyone that says that they're a Republican and that they like Donald Trump, as is anyone that says they're a Democrat and that they like being a Democrat, right? Like anybody that is a statist is saying might makes right is good, or that, so long as a majority vote for something, it's justified to use violence. Right, so that is them consenting to being deported or consenting to violence. They're consenting to removal, right? Well, it's not really physical removal because the United States is not public, it's not private property, right? So any communist, any statist, any Republican voter, any Democrat voter, they're saying it is okay for you to use violence to stop me. The thing is, though, is that there's no action, right? And so it is action that makes it to where someone is incapable of arguing for their own rights. So if I steal your TV, I can't then go, oh, the non-aggression principle, right? I can't argue that because I've proven with my actions that I don't believe in the non-aggression principle. I am stopped from arguing in favor of my own rights until I pay restitution for the crimes that I've committed. So any communist that doesn't want to be deported can just renounce communism. Right? They can just say, I renounce. I renounce might makes right. And then they're immediately, their rights can't be violated. Right? So it gets into like a tricky word philosophy game here. And like most people are statists, right? And so like I don't want to say like the state isn't justified in going after those people either, right? Because the state isn't justified in its existence, right? But it does become two criminal entities. And so I am not like, I'm not required to care about one criminal entity going after another criminal entity. What I can say, however, is someone that is, committed property crimes cannot argue for their own rights. And because of this, the state isn't necessarily justified in getting rid of them. Anyone is justified in getting rid of them, right? Anyone is justified in physically removing them. And so, my position on that is that the state has taken policing and taking a lot of things from us. And so, the state's, right, like the state, insofar as it refuses to give policing back to people and refuses to disband, if it's going to take away that right, it is a further abuse for them not to protect us from criminals. And so it's like, yeah, they should get rid of those people, but like primarily they should dissolve, but they're not gonna, and they're not gonna let private police handle it. And so if they're not gonna let those things do it, then given that, then, the next best option is for them to get rid of terrorists. My position is a little bit more complicated, and it's not what I'm critiquing here. What I'm critiquing here is this bullshit framing that like this is the same thing, that like hate speech laws stopping people from praying silently near an abortion clinic are exactly the same thing as deporting a green card holder that very likely was engaged in terrorist activity and doesn't and is no longer able to have green card status. Dude, there's wars afoot. Yeah, dude. Well, like the Houthi situation is. I'm like, I don't want to comment on it too much because I kind of want to like let events unfold, but it's not good. At the same time, like, what the fuck is the U.S. supposed to do in this situation, right? Like, are we supposed to just fucking have all of our goods go around the Cape of the southern tip of Africa? Like, you know what I mean? Like what's going on? All right. So I responded to Destiny. I said, yes, UK police arresting people for mean tweets is exactly the same as America deporting green card. Let me get some music. All right. I said, yes, UK police arresting people for mean tweets is exactly the same as America deporting green card holders for leading protests through taking over buildings and supporting terrorist groups. You can think it's wrong to deport him and still realize these are wildly different. That's my only critique, right? My original critique is like, dude, these are not the same fucking thing. Like to act like this is all just free speech and he's anti-free speech because he's for getting rid of a green card holder who's leading puts himself as a representative of CUAD, right? What is it? Columbia University apartheid divestment. Who's like taking over buildings, handing out Hamas propaganda and terrorist propaganda literature, who's giving speeches at these events saying that no matter what we do, Israel will call it terrorism and that like armed resistance is justified. Like that guy, a guy who, previously worked for the UNRWA that lost their funding because they were funneling money to terrorist organizations. Yeah, that saying I want to get rid of that guy is not somehow anti-free speech. Oh, yeah. But I mean, we haven't done military action, following the fucking Constitution and actually declaring war in forever. And so Destiny responds, right, with a quote tweet. He responds, when MAGA starts asking for any green card holders who were at the January 6th insurrection to be deported, I'll believe you. First of all, what the fuck? What do you mean you'll believe me then? Believe what? I'm saying these are two different things. That you can be for one and against the other, and that doesn't make you anti-free speech. That's silly. So I responded, and I said, this is sad engagement farming response, typical. My statement is a descriptive response to your bullshit framing of hypocrisy by pointing out the cases are disanalogous. Your new argument is implying the hypocrisy lies in them not seeking out green card holders during January 6th, which, by the way, who the fuck are these green card blood and soil Americans? Who are these people? Who are these people that are like, we got to take our country back, that are also green card holders? Is there even one there? And if they were, they clearly got roped into it. Like what's happening, right? I said, what is the incentive to seek this out? Asmongold isn't an activist or a journalist. He's offering commentary on a popular case. Whataboutism is not an argument. My argument is X and Y are not the same. Your response is, I'll believe this when they apply Y to other cases. You've shifted from Asmongold to everyone that isn't the left. It's impressive how many layers of nonsense you'll stack to cover up your own poor arguments. Right, so here he's gone from Asmongold as a person to now the entire right. He's bringing up this fucking January 6th thing, and it's like the only relevancy January 6th has is that it's a protest that had violent property damage in some portion of it. It has nothing to do with Mahmoud Khalil, who was a representative while the violence was occurring, right? Who was calling for violence and who potentially, we don't know, the Department of Justice said, was putting out literature from Hamas, which there are multiple things that he has presumably done or alleged to have done that violate his green card status. And that doesn't make you anti-free speech if you're against taking over property and having people that are taking over the property make demands. That's a violent crime. What? And again, Destiny is saying is for locking these people up. He's for punishing these people. So he's not even consistent in this regard. Is Destiny admitting here that he's anti-free speech and that he's against free speech? And he's just pointing out the hypocrisy of other people that say they're free speech because they're against hate speech laws? What is the argument here? Yeah, I mean, he's assuming everyone that isn't screaming Russia, 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 I guess, is who he's talking about here. Let me pull up Discord. Where I have the tweets saved. Go through the exchange. All right, so So then he responds with this. Okay? He responds with, sorry, no, fuck you. Here's the real response. Okay, so already he's admitting that he's just memeing and his arguments are that his arguments don't make any sense, that he's just going like, aha, what about this? Here's the real response, okay? Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. Yeah, no. I read that. Sorry. I was just making sure the tweet chain wasn't interrupted. It says, sorry, no, fuck you. Now, here's the real response. When it's some person or some speech conservatives don't like, they take on the most narrow, literal fucking meaning possible when it comes to interpretations of freedom of speech. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure Destiny's argued at good faith in some point. He does a lot of debates. That only applies in this way to citizens. Permanent residents aren't guaranteed the same protections on all conduct according to these congressional statutes, and this type of speech is unprotected. He's basically inciting violence. Okay, well, first of all, the accusation is that he's passing out Hamas literature. That we have video evidence of him saying that violence is justified and that whatever we do, Israel will just call it terrorism. The guy was a member of UNRWA before he came over here to be an activist, and we are talking about people, he's not inciting violence, he is an active representative of an organization whilst violence is occurring, and he is negotiating on behalf of the people that are currently taking over public property. It's actually far worse than inciting violence. It's not he's basically inciting violence. It's he's a representative of a violent group that is currently engaged in violence. But nevertheless, his claim here is that, it's all nebulous, but all of a sudden we got to get hyper specific on free speech, which is, following the laws. That's what most conservatives do. They follow the laws. And they don't, and yeah, the freedom of speech doesn't necessarily apply to citizens because green card holders say that they won't do these things and sign off that they won't engage in this type of terrorist activity. Yeah, no, Columbia is a private university. It's not public property. Then when it comes to speech or people you guys like, freedom of speech becomes so fucking broad that you guys will complain about how companies ban people for things they don't like invoking the First Amendment on private platform bans. Trump literally sued multiple private platforms for banning him, claiming it infringed on his First Amendment. I don't know who the fuck you guys is, right? But now it's a critique of the right again. We've completely shifted away from whether or not Asmongold is a hypocrite for holding these views on these wildly different cases, and whether or not he's anti-free speech now because he's for getting rid of a guy that is taking over building, that is a part of a movement taking over buildings, that is a green card holder, that is, presumably, according to the Department of Justice, passing out Hamas literature, etc. So he goes, so no, fuck you and fuck engagement farming. You dishonest ghouls know exactly the fucking game you're playing. You're just too fucking scared to come out and be honest about it. So now me, the right, the center, libertarians, everyone that isn't Destiny apparently, are all disgusting ghouls. We're pieces of shit. Fuck us because we, we're not really for freedom of speech like he is, even though he's in favor of fucking hate speech laws, and he said so multiple times, because people, and now we got to bring in Trump, and we're all Trump people. It's all over the fucking place of just lobbed out accusations that don't deal with my argument in any way, shape, or form, and he knows it. So then I responded and I said, seems like you can't contend with my argument. So instead, you go to a quote real response, which is a full offensive on the right, full of oversimplification as a justification for your own fallacious argument. In short, you just admitted I was right, but you don't care because you believe the right does it too. Well, the right isn't a monolith. all using the same tactics you implore to be dishonest. I'll see you Tuesday so I can showcase how consistent libertarian views are better than the right you despise so much, and far better than your feigned moral outrage to hand wave your own lack of honor. Right? The reason I said I'll see you Tuesday is before I did that response, I got in a low blow. Now, the reason I got in a low blow, all right, because I saw this before I like read through all of this, right, and like had time to respond because I had my kids the weekend, and like we were doing bath time and stuff. So someone was like, if you have the balls, offer to debate Destiny. Let's see how this unfolds in front of a live audience. And then I said, Destiny wouldn't debate me. He knows he'll lose, and I don't have clout. But let me read his post and respond in a minute. Like all I saw was like the top. It was like, sorry, no, fuck you. Here's the real response. I'm like, oh, go fuck yourself, Destiny. So I said, I have to get my kids out of the bathtub and dress for bed. I'm sure he'll understand since he couldn't handle it and abandoned his kid to be a sex pest. Right? And then, okay, so I was like, yeah, whatever, go fuck yourself. Now, he responded to this one before I kind of responded to that. He said, don't worry, I've figured out how to be a sex pest while hanging out with him at the same time. Weird fucking phrasing. Yeah, nah, fuck him. He abandoned his kid and then like reconnected with him when he was older. He didn't fucking take care of him. He didn't do bathtubs. He didn't do story time. He didn't fucking do the every other weekend dad shit. He just dipped out and fucking, I presumably paid child support, left the fucking state so he could go fucking live his dreams or whatever, and wasn't there to be a father to his kid. He said, don't worry, I figured out how to be a sex pest while hanging out with him at the same time. Thanks for the concern, though. Weird fucking phrasing, but I get it. It's for the memes, but like maybe not say you're a sex pest while also hanging out with your kid. That's creepy, but I get it, whatever. He said, and we can chat when I'm back home on Tuesday if you want. I'm out of town at the moment visiting your mom. And I responded, I said, I have no interest in idle chit-chat. I'll debate the bullshit framing you use in hoping to instigate with Asmongold and any other anti-libertarian position you choose. And then I said, and congrats on reconnecting with your kid, because I didn't know that he had got back with his kid. I thought he was still abandoned. I'll ignore the internet clapback, especially since I started it, because it's good news for everyone. Probably should have just doubled down. Like, now that I think about it, I probably should have just kept telling him to go fuck himself. But I had just learned when I read that he had actually reconnected with his son, and I don't know, I felt kind of happy about it. Like, at least he's fucking there now. Like, kids need their dads. Then he responds, okay, so again, he said he'll see me Tuesday, which is today. This is tonight, right? I said I have no interest in idle chit-chat, yada, yada, yada. But I will debate the bullshit framing. Okay? So it's all good. It's not surprising that a libertarian would immediately think about sex while grabbing his children out of the bathtub. Then I responded and I said, I heard you used to consider yourself a libertarian, then eventually left after reading more literature. I'm sure you'll be disappointed to learn that you had to go to the left if you wanted to be a hedonistic pest because we value consent above all. And then he said, this is the libertarian version of consent, which is the implication that the implication video from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, which is that like apparently libertarians' idea of consent is that we'll hint that we'll rape them. Which is like, I'm not the one. And then I was like, all right, whatever. I just responded with like, isn't it ironic from Lannis Morissette? Because, his court cases and all around consent. And multiple times in this thread, I was like, yeah, I'll see him Tuesday. So again, he says he's available. I respond by saying, I have no interest in idle chit chat, but I will debate. And then again, I DM'd him on Sunday, right, which was like the next day. I'm free Tuesday all day, but preferably after 6 p.m. Nothing. Going live now. Heard nothing from you. Are you live tonight? Nothing. So I'm not accusing Destiny of ducking the debate, all right? I want to be clear. I'm not saying that he's ducking. I'm just saying I've done like he said he was free Tuesday. I responded saying like, yeah, I'll debate you Tuesday. I DM'd him being like, when are you free Tuesday? Got nothing. Right? And then I tweeted out, a little earlier just to be, cover my bases before DGG came in and accused me of a bunch of bullshit. I said, here we go. Let me actually put this up real quick and go back. I've never debated Destiny in a 1v1. I've been on panels with him a couple of times before. And pretty much every time I call him out on his bullshit, and then he accuses me of being a debate bro. And then immediately after accusing me of being a debate bro, he starts claiming that I'm making all these logical fallacies. Then what I do is I explain how what I did isn't a logical fallacy. Then I name and showcase the logical fallacies that he's using. Then he screams about how I'm boring and we're talking about philosophy and all this other shit, and that I'm not making real arguments or whatever. And then he gets up and leaves and usually makes something to eat. And then he's real quiet on the panel for like a couple minutes until he can come back in and like attack somebody else's argument and kind of like try and ignore me there. So like I know that he knows that his usual tactics don't work with me, and that's probably why he's never done a 1v1, but who knows, it could just be a clout thing. You don't have to accuse Destiny. I can. He ducked. I mean, he never answered his DMs. He said he was there for Tuesday. I said, hey, I'll be there. So I just tweeted this out today just to make sure. I said, look, I DM'd OmniLiberal Sunday regarding him saying he's free today to debate his absurd attack on Asmongold as being anti-free speech and a hypocrite for agreeing with the deportation of Mahmoud Khalil. Destiny responded to my post, parentheses reply, accepting to debate this as well as any libertarian topics. If a debate does not occur, do not accuse me of ducking Destiny. He has but to send me the link. I'll be going live at 6 p.m. Eastern regardless. So, I got nothing on that, right? Like I can't force him to a debate or anything, but he talked a lot of shit, I talked some shit, but he certainly, and the thing is that like, I'm sure a lot of people will accuse me of like trying to clout chase or whatever, like, but yeah, Destiny's a big streamer that says a lot of false things with a large audience of people that like, respect his positions, and I think he should be called out. That's what I do. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and if anyone wants to accuse me of like clout chasing him or something because he's got this big audience and that I'm not serious or whatever, what the fuck was Destiny doing when he made up some bullshit to try and attack Asmongold when that's exactly what he's fucking doing. He's going after Asmongold, who's a much larger streamer, and trying to like get him to, trying to get him all pissed off to get everybody that's like following Asmongold and the fact that he's been doing political reactions lately to try and garner that audience and cause drama or whatever. I guarantee you, like he's hoping when he did that like Asmongold would clap back, he could cause some drama, and then he could have a conversation with Asmongold, or at the very least debate some other shit and talk shit on Asmongold so that Asmongold will like react to it or something with some other big name. You know what I mean? And so it's like he's doing the same thing I'm doing. The only difference is that he's doing it with bullshit and I'm calling out the disingenuous, crappy tactics that he's using. And now, he says he's going to be here, but, where is he? Oh, he's moved on, I guess. Maybe he just doesn't check his DMs. Maybe he's busy, or maybe he's a little bullshitter and he looked into it and realized that this was a fucking easy dub for me, and he knows I'm better at this than him anyways. The only thing he's good at is entertaining to midwits. He's excellent at it. He's great at it. Just read the comments on all those fucking posts and you'll see how completely brain dead his audience is. Like I would put my audience up against DGG any fucking day of the week. I guarantee you the dumbest amongst my audience would fucking crush the average fucking DGGer. So, I don't know where he is, but he's not in my DMs. I'll fight him. Well, Rodney Thundercock, I don't. You seem new. I don't know about you. like no lie, I think Slope is dope. Would fucking give most of DGG a run for their money. The overwhelming majority of them can't tell the difference between an ought statement and an is statement. Like I saw so many people being like, why do you support the deportation? I was like, I don't. I think he needs to go through a trial to prove that he was engaged in terrorist activity. And they're like, but how could you defend Asmongold? And I'm like, because the framing is bullshit. These are different things and we should talk about it honestly. And they're like, but if you defend him, that means that you support it. And I'm like the overwhelming majority of DGG lacks the philosophical knowledge of the average person in the 1970s and 1960s in like 6th grade. Like you could take any boomer in America right now and like pluck them when they were in middle school, right? Time machine them when they were in middle school, and like they would completely crush the philosophical knowledge of almost everyone in DGG. Like they do not understand basic shit like an ought versus is statement. Oh, fair enough, Rodney. I'm just teasing. Destiny filters the sensible with sophistry. I mean, yeah. I mean, like appealing to the midwits is like the easiest path towards success, right? Like if you're like, I appeal to higher IQ people, right? That doesn't necessarily mean that I'm like some super genius or anything. It's just that the type of content that I do is nerdy. It's, full of like, niche philosophy that is, tends to be a little higher IQ than the average person, and also tends to be a little more autistic than the average person. Right. And I try to be consistent, and I don't try and play like drama games constantly, or like bring on like people to like make fun of them because they're crazy. Like I try and have interesting conversations. So like, I don't need to be a genius to do all of those things, right? I could even be average IQ. I'm not, but I could be and still do all of those things. But appealing to like the midwits with that type of content, it's just there's way more of them in the world and online than there are of like high IQ people. And so like, yeah, I mean, like I get it. Scott, you're not high IQ. Don't kid yourself. I mean, I know what my IQ is. I know I'm high IQ. I'm not going to tell you the fucking number. But like I've had it tested more than once professionally because I had a lot of problems when I was a kid. Have I met a libertarian who isn't autistic? I'm a libertarian. I'm not autistic. I'm ADHD, which is, a form of like neurodivergent. It's close. And I went to grad school for counseling, and my son is nonverbal autistic. So pretty intimately aware of autism. I did not hint that I was one. Maybe I did. I don't know. I like showed a post of like what Grok thought my AI was at one point, and it was like, it said it was like 135 to 145 or something. And I was like, it's close. Whatever. Just because I thought it was funny. It was a trend everybody was doing at the time. All right, so let's go back to this. Let me pull up Twitter just in case, or X. And I can just check on it periodically just in case Destiny ever decides to respond. I'm not really holding out hope or anything. But I guess we will, let me go through my bookmarks, make sure there wasn't something I bookmarked to react to. So, what do I want to do? I want to do, I'm gonna react if I can to, promise to react to this. So I'm curious about this. It might be a little boring. I don't know that it's necessarily the best content, but I'll definitely skim through it and see what's up. Trexamon here sent me the Australian LPs kind of like vision in PowerPoints, for Australia. I'm somewhat interested for sure. But we'll kind of go through it and we'll see. And then we will get to the Sam Seders reaction on Jubilee, because I really just want to shit on how dumb he is. I don't know how much I'm going to get through this. If it gets to be too boring, I'm just going to continue. But I do want to I do want to look at it and see kind of like what's going on. So apparently this is the Australians LPs vision forward. We'll go through this and then we'll go to the Sam Seders thing. Policies for prosperity, family, and freedom. All right, libertarians are like a protective friend who looks out for you and stands up for you when needed. I already hate this. You can count on us to look after your best interests. I disagree, but a libertarian politician, you know what I mean, like would certainly get the government out of your life. But libertarianism gives me no moral duty or obligation to look after other people. We're the type of friend you can rely on to be practical, pragmatic, and fair-minded. I mean, sure, pragmatism is death to libertarianism. So, I mean, but like, I would say that we do tend to be more practical and pragmatic. But I don't know that I want to marry myself to the pragmatism in politics. AC Peterson and Pelevra did a podcast together? No. I'll have to check it out at some point. We love our country and reckon some of our traditional values are what has made us a great place to live, work, and raise a family. We're not afraid to stand up for our country. Oh, God, this is so much. In our mind, everyone deserves a fair go and to do what's right for them. I mean, I don't like the framing of the word fair here because it harkens to like freedom of opportunity. And it's like, no, there is no equality, right? Equality is a myth. Not everybody gets a fair shake and nobody deserves the things that would give them a fair shake, but they certainly deserve negative rights, free from government intervention. We focus on people and work hard to recognize who they are so we can honor their values and aspirations. Why are we working to recognize who they are? Sure, I guess. Seems like filler. Our freedoms mean the world to us, and you will hear us protecting and preserving them with passion and candor. And that's fine, yeah. We do it with pride because we believe in the sacredness of our freedoms and liberties. There's nothing sacred or mystical about freedom or liberty. But I mean, you can be a libertarian and a Christian. You don't have to be like an objectivist, I guess. So you can make that claim, but that's not something I would make as a claim for libertarians. Hey, I appreciate it. I appreciate the money. I appreciate the vote of support. I kind of went through the whole interaction earlier if you weren't quite here. But I don't know where the fuck he is. He's not answering his DMs. I guess he's too busy to pay attention to little old me. And, I guess it wasn't that crazy when I said Destiny wouldn't debate me because I don't have the clout and he knows he'll lose because he does know he'll lose. And I guess I don't have the clout enough to be paid attention to post, a couple of engagement farming bait posts on X because he doesn't actually check his DMs or follow through in any way. So, I mean, I guess I wasn't actually wrong in the end. We'll see. But maybe if I had more clout, he'd pay attention and we'd be debating right now instead of him, kind of just doing whatever, forgetting, You would think with all the Adderall that Destiny's taken that he'd have a better memory, like he'd be focused. But apparently all that Adderall does nothing but make his lower jaw move and fucking stays scatterbrained. I'm ADHD. I'm not on Adderall. I'm on energy drinks right now. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Maybe I ought to go to get a prescription and give it to Destiny. Maybe he's got too much of a tolerance for it right now. Because the motherfucker can't pay attention or get his shit done. Anyways, yeah, overall, I think this is a terrible opening that is, harkens to sacredness, which kind of abandons the atheist libertarian position to a certain extent. This fair go, harkens towards like positive rights in some regard. This like duty to protect and like other people is not a libertarian position, but it can be theirs. So far I give this like a D- as far as it is for representing libertarianism. So these are the sections: economy, money, energy, education, women, and children, yada, yada, yada. Prosperity. Shape the Australia you want for your family. We shouldn't be shaping Australia towards, sure, I guess it's a slogan. Economy. The rewards of your hard work stay with you and your family. That's a good one. Like, that's good. What is a libertarian economic policy? Is taxation theft? Like, I guess these are a bunch of talking points. So let's go with the economy. The rewards for your family and work stay with you and your family. Are these a set of policy prescriptions? Like, what's going on? I mean, these just seem like critiques of the system and like slogans right now. I mean, I'm sure this is part of a presentation that comes with like a video or something. This is like the Australians' vision for the LP. I promise I would react to it at some point. So I'm going to do this before we react to Sam Seders. Economic freedom is at the heart of the Libertarian Party's belief, principle that ensures the rewards of your family stay with you and your family. Income tax removes incentives to work hard and smart. A low flat tax rewards your effort. Okay, so now the Libertarian Party of Australia is pro-taxation. They just want a low flat tax. Compulsory superannuation also works like a tax, depriving you of choices. I don't know what this is. I gotta know what this is. I feel dumb now. Oh, okay. So that's like we pay employers pay what is it, 7.6% in payroll taxes. Okay. Also works like a tax, depriving you of choices about your money. Yeah. Current business tax system is a hindrance because it taxes profits while businesses need to reinvest their earnings. Okay, taxes are bad, but then you talked about a low flat tax as like a reward. No, it's fucking not. What kind of fucking libertarian is claiming a tax is like a reward? Overregulation burdens the economy by favoring larger businesses. This is true, but regulation favors, burdens the economy. Like, regulation by the state is always bad. So this is another, they're like, oh, but overregulation is bad. No, they're both bad. Overregulation is just worse. What is the right amount of regulation? All forms of regulation and all forms of taxes take capital or money or resources from their most valued means to less valued means. Every tax, every regulation, everything, makes the economy less productive, less efficient, and less prosperous. Like, this just sounds like a Republican Party platform. Recently, Australia has seen unhealthy bureaucratic growth. No, yeah, sure, the growth is unhealthy. The state is unhealthy, created by energy and climate change policies. Both these cost you money, both in taxes, yada, yada. The government has no place running businesses in a free economy. I agree with that, obviously, including the national broadcast. Okay, that's good. Assets to pay, especially when selling these assets to pay down debt is possible. Yeah, that's fine. That's one means of expropriation from the state back to the population, selling things. But where does, if you're paying off debt, I guess that's okay. Yeah. A free market empowers individuals, ensuring your choice to drive innovation and prosperity. Well, it doesn't sound like you're for a free market because you're for low flat tax, but maybe that's like just a step in the right direction kind of thing. Yeah, I understand they're trying not to be radical and they're trying not to get votes, right? But you don't shit on your own ideology. You don't need to shit on your own ideology. You need to say yeah, we have these are our policy positions going forward. These things are bad. You don't need to say that a low flat tax rewards your effort. No, it fucking doesn't. Taxes are never a reward. They might be less, repulsive and than our current system, but this is an anti-libertarian document in a hope to appeal to people to get more votes. This is pragmatism, like they said right in the beginning, right? We're the type of friend who can rely to be practical, pragmatic, and fair-minded. I don't want fucking prags. You don't have to market yourself as a full ANCAP. You can just say these are the things we're focused on because these things are bad, right? You don't have to say that taxes are good and a reward. Hell yeah, low flat tax rewards me for my work. No, it fucking doesn't. Raise income. The Libertarian Party will raise the income tax free threshold and implement a flat tax rate. I mean, this transition as a transition to say that this is better is a fine policy, right? I understand you need votes and you need to convince people to move towards liberty, but saying that this is a reward is fucking insane. Simplify business taxes by taxing only distributions. again, this type of shit infuriates me, right? Like Republicans and libertarian prags and all these people, they're always trying to find like some way to socially engineer taxation to be like less bad than it is, but it always has fucking like it always has some other unintended consequence. Like you can't say like, oh, well, we're not going to tax the good things. We're going to have a targeted tax on like this other thing and that'll be better because it doesn't disincentive. Yet every tax is bad, right? Like it always, company tax rate will be reduced to zero. The distributed earnings tax at the 20% personal and couples income tax rate. The position will be the same for trusts and partnerships, ensuring consistency and efficiency in business structures. Again, you're still taxing these companies, which changes their behavior. Like, if you move the tax from one sector of the economy to the other sector of the economy, but like that's still affecting the same businesses, then that just means that like the cost of doing business is shifted from one place to another. Like, it's not like, I hate when people are like, oh, well, we can just do this type of tax. We can do a VAT tax, you know, like, or we can do a land tax, or we can do this type of tax. They always come with unintended consequences, and they always have the same effect, which is that they move resources from their most valued means to less valued means, period. The rewards of your hard family will stay with you and your family. Yeah. Remove energy policy and remove carbon-based regulations. I mean, like, this is good, right? And then, like, all of these are good to a certain extent, right? But, like, talking about it like a reward, talking about it like it's a positive thing forward is just not libertarian. My tax costs a late night fee. Your tax got the HIV. Can I expound upon what you mean by most valued means to less valued means? I think I can intuit it what most valued means, but I'm not sure of your definitions. So I have $10. The government takes $5. Okay, without the government taking $5, I have $10. I want to go to the restaurant and buy a cheeseburger. That is the most valued means for this $10 in the market, right? If I have $10, what I want to do with this $10 is buy a cheeseburger. That's what I want to do with my money. That is the most valuable thing to me subjectively in that moment in time when I have that money in my hand. Now the government, and the cheeseburger costs, let's say $8.99 at the restaurant. Okay. Now when the government takes $5 from me, I can no longer buy that cheeseburger. I lack the money to buy that cheeseburger. So the cheeseburger is the most valued means for this money because it's what I subjectively value. Okay. And it takes that money and it puts it in temporary assistance for needy families, or it uses that money for a contract for Lockheed Martin so it can build bombs to be used in Ukraine or against the Houthis in Yemen, or for, you know, fucking given to the Israelis, or fucking, you know, free school lunch program, whatever it is. It is something that is definitionally less valued because I had $10 in my hand and I didn't donate that to Food Not Bombs. Okay, I didn't donate it to Lockheed Martin to purchase bombs. What I wanted to do with that money is I wanted to trade it for a fucking cheeseburger, and they took the cheeseburger away from me. And people go, okay, but these other things are actually better. No, they're fucking not. It's imposed. They're less valued. The government wouldn't need to exist in any way, shape, or form if there would be no need for the government to tax in order to fund these programs if those people voluntarily gave their money towards those programs when they had it. Okay, and so you may go, but isn't it better to take $5 and give it to school lunch programs? You know, because yada yada yada. It's like, okay, but the thing is that when I have $10 and I spend it on a cheeseburger, that's more business for that restaurant. Okay, and restaurants, 80% of restaurants close in 5 years. 60% of restaurants close in the first year of doing business. Okay, so every time you're taxing me, it's less money I can spend on cheeseburgers, and that's that number of restaurants closing. That's lost money. That's lost jobs. That's people. That's lower wages for Americans because A, it's taxed, so my actual money that I take home is less money, but B, it's less money that would be spent on businesses for them to grow, which means they need to hire new employees, which means the job market's more competitive, which means businesses have to pay workers more in order to get the work that they need. So it's all of these taxes are doubling up on you making less money because they're stealing your money, and less money because the job market is artificially inflated. So that's what I mean when I say that every tax, every regulation that the government does moves money from its most valued means towards less valued means. You're hungry now? I made everybody want a cheeseburger? Right, yeah. So that's what I mean. Like every tax, and this is the thing is that you'll see lefties all the time be like, hey, what's up, Computer Carnage? I appreciate you. I went through everything with Destiny. He hasn't responded, not responded to DMs, nothing to, like he said that he was free Tuesday. I responded and said, I'll debate you Tuesday. I DM'd him Sunday. Nothing heard from him. I DM'd him again today before I started stream. Said I'm going live. I got nothing. So I guess I don't have the fucking clout. And I wasn't crazy when I said he won't debate me because I don't have the clout and he knows he'll lose. I don't know. I don't know if he's necessarily, ducking, but he's definitely doing something. And it ain't fucking debating me. And so I promised that I would kind of go through the Australian LPs, vision or whatever. And it's very pragmatist, and I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. But yeah, so that's what I mean when I say that, anytime the government does a regulation or a tax, it moves away from most valued resources to less valued resources. And it's important to note just what that means, right? Because again, that's money taken out of your pocket, which means you have less money to spend. You have less money to spend on rent. You have less money to spend on car insurance. You have less money to spend on a car payment, less money to spend on a mortgage, less money to go out with your family. And that means less money to spend out in the economy, which grows businesses and grows the labor market. And so it's doubly less money because not only did they steal your money to go put it on some other program, but they took money out of the growth of the economy and instead put it in things that are inefficient. And when they did that, that effectively lowered your wage because the job market grows slower now. And because the job market grows slower, companies don't have to pay as much money to get employees because the labor market's not as competitive. So like you're over here like, oh, well, I make $20 an hour. I don't mind spending $5 an hour on taxes. And what you don't realize is that the government's taking somewhere between 40 to 60% of your wealth, depending on how much money you make, in all different types of taxes. And so like, yeah, you might make $20 an hour, but don't forget your employer's paying 7.6% payroll taxes. You're paying 6.6% Social Security tax on top of all the other taxes that you're paying. And then all of these taxes slow down businesses, and that's the reason why you're not getting paid $25 an hour when instead you're getting paid $20 an hour. You would be monumentally more wealthy. Yeah, we'd have a lot of bullshit happen, like kids wouldn't fucking have free school lunch. But you'd have so much more money and the economy would be doing so much better that there'd be a lot less kids that are hungry because their parents would have good jobs that pay well. And then on top of that, a lot of people that are doing well would have a lot more money to donate towards charities and things. It's less efficient. It's way less efficient than the market. It's not just theft, all right? It's not just like, oh, I took something from you. It's like there's layers to the theft and the bullshit and the destruction that it's doing. When is the debate happening? Supposed to happen Tuesday. He said he'd debate me Tuesday. I said I'll debate you Tuesday. I DM'd him. He never responded. I DM'd again, said I'm going live. I got nothing. So again, guess I wasn't wrong when I said that Destiny wouldn't fucking debate me because I've got too much clout. Maybe because I don't have enough clout and I fucking and he knows he'll lose from previous debates or from previous panels. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe, maybe no matter how much clout I have, he would have responded to my DMs. He would have paid attention. Or maybe, he's a fucking pussy and he looked at into the details of the case and looked into more information and realized that like this ain't a winning debate for him, even if I wasn't better than him at it. So who knows? Money. Cool. High cost of living in the economy must return to sound money backed by real assets like gold or silver. This is a pretty radical thing. This is pretty good. Getting rid of fiat money, fighting to get rid of fiat money is really good. The problem is that like a gold standard in any modern economy right now is a recipe for destruction of the economy. Like the shock therapy of going from fractional reserve banking and fiat currency to like currencies backed by gold and silver will have a massive destructive impact on like the current economic system and how like investments work. Like you're gonna cause a recession if you do that. It's a necessary one because of all of the ways in which fiat currency steals from the poor and the middle class and makes the ultra wealthy and the corporations richer and richer and richer. Like this, the fiat currency and inflation are why wealthy people are absurdly fucking wealthy compared to what they were 50 to 100 years ago. But it's not going to be fun to switch to a gold standard. Destiny didn't understand the FAFSA were student loans. Dude, I mean, like, I love to make fun of Destiny because he lies about bullshit all the time and he engages in bad tactics and he's a piece of shit and a sex pest. But like also at the same time, dude, we all get shit wrong. We all have little areas of our knowledge that are blank that shouldn't be blank. Like I'm sure if you go through all of my content, you're going to hear me say some really dumb shit. And that's just true of anybody. Like it is funny to meme on him for that. You know what I mean? But like my real the real interesting thing is how do they react to that new information? But didn't he go to college? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe he paid it off with his streaming money. But like, yeah, wait a minute. He went to college? Wait, is he just not paying student loans? Is he just not paying student loans? Like, is he a millionaire with like tons of student loan debt? Like, I mean, because presumably he would know that if he ever paid him off. Yo, Moella about to hit his ass up. Constrain the RBA to focus on a stable money supply. Yeah, I mean, like, this is a wish list of a policy. Like Australian dollar will compete with other options such as gold, Bitcoin. Oh, okay. I mean, this is a good transitory thing, right? Introducing gold and Bitcoin, you know, as currencies or reserve currencies is pretty good. Energy. Where am I at? 16 out of what? Out of 52. Ugh. No bans, no subsidies, just cheap, reliable energy. Yeah, that's a simple solution. I can get behind that. Inconsistent government interventions of yeah, makes sense. Yeah, I mean, this one's really good. Like this is pretty straightforward and like doesn't seem to be saying really dumb shit. Like I agree with their energy policy pretty good. Force no bans, no subsidies, abolish renewable energy targets. Yeah, agreed. This is the right way to go forward. You need to wait for him, just hold on for more hours. I mean, I'm going to do this and then I'm going to do a Sam Seders thing and then we'll see what happens. And if I get done with the Sam Seders thing and he's still not here, then, you know, fucking it is what it is. You know what I mean? Like I'm not going to like stay up for 24 hours like a CQ shift. Repeal the blanket ban on nuclear energy in Australia, 110%. Like nuclear is the only thing you should be investing in. Protect the environment from wind and solar projects on public land. Look, I mean, like wind and solar aren't that. Wind is kind of bad. Solar is not that fucking bad, but like it is heavily dependent upon precious metals and, you know, a chain of supplies from China. It is, you know, it's renewable in the sense that it, you know, like they talk about, but like, what about nuclear waste? It's like, what about fucking solar panel waste? Like solar panels last 30 years at max, and then they have to be thrown away in landfills. But realistically, they only last like 15 years on average before they end up getting replaced. And they require energy to mine and all these other things. Like, it's just like solar, no matter how many government subsidies you have, solar is not really a great source of energy. It's just not. Thorium reactors on top. Well, I mean, like, thorium still needs some, you know, R&D. Just to be fair. Empowering students deserve the freedom to choose education. Yep. Good. Yep, spending hasn't gotten good things. Type burdens and billions will be written off due to the impending retirement of people who still have HECS type debts. That's like an Australian thing, right? Where like it's like based off of your income or whatever. So it's like, you like when you get student loans, like if you work as a teacher and you have low income, you like basically just pay like a really, really small amount, which is just like an incentive for bad degrees. Like it's a terrible system because it incentivizes people to get like gender studies degrees or fucking like an overabundance of like psychology degrees, things that aren't marketable because the debt that you're taking on is like meaningless. And so you can just get like any type of corporate, like any type of like college degree and then go to like a corporate place and be like, I have a college degree. And it's like, and then you burden people that go and get engineering degrees or become doctors or lawyers with like a larger percentage of paying off their student loans. And so it disincentivizes the most valuable degrees in society while incentivizing the least valuable degrees in society. It's like the worst form of like student loan government programs ever. Like Australia literally has the worst one in the world. Abolish the Federal Department of Education, dope. Empower parents to control childcare and education funding, dope. Encourage new and innovative education models. Market-driven approach where I don't know what this encouraging means. Reducing red tape. Okay, yeah, if you're just reducing red tape, that's fine. Like, I don't want any fucking subsidies for fucking weird programs because all that's going to happen is somebody like Bill Gates is going to start making a bunch of fucking Montessori schools and then taking massive government subsidies. So long as you're not putting forward like we need some form of subsidies for alternate education, then I'm fine with that. Nah, vouchers is a fucking recipe for disaster, bro. Vouchers is like, school vouchers is a serious problem. This whole like school choice movement as being libertarian is a fucking Trojan horse. Because the moment you start introducing en masse vouchers is the moment that taxpayers are the ones paying for private education as opposed to people doing what they want with their money. And the moment you start bringing in the taxpayer into public education or private education, two things happen. Same thing that happened in private universities, which is where they just try and get more and more people because they have this guaranteed money from the state. And so they start lowering standards and doing crappy shit, and you get pop-up schools that ruin the system. And then the other thing is that now all of a sudden there is this presumed justification for more and more regulation on what private schools can and can't teach because they're receiving taxpayer funds, right? Like, do not let taxpayer funds and school choice and shit into private education because it's just a means of it's just a Trojan horse to regulate and force private institutions to, teach their fucking social emotional learning and their gender studies, fucking queer theory, sex education programs. And, math can't be math unless we talk about slave auctions and our math problems and all kinds of other bullshit. Yeah, it's more of a slippery slope because it's just extending the slippery slope of public education to private education. Hell yeah, brother. Time to feed him some ANCAP propaganda. Let's go. Government encouragement is always money, or typically. Well, this is from the LP, the Libertarian Party in Australia. And so they specifically talk about reducing red tape. So I mean, like, I assume that's what they're for. I keep checking over to my Twitter. No DMs, boys. Just, Oh, yeah, and in case you want to, like, boost this, so maybe Destiny fucking sees it and pays attention, here's the link to my current thing being like, I'm not ducking, I'm here, send me a link. Like, I'm live. Australia will retain a HECS-style delayed payment schedule, but such loans should only be extended to those who are committed to paying them back. Yeah, again, HCST style delayed payment schedule. Like no, this is the worst fucking program they have, and they should come out against it. Like, this is funding feminism and critical theory and bullshit humanities degrees to the max by making it to where those that get less valuable degrees pay less money for their school. It's a terrible program, and they should have the balls to go against it. Like, I understand not being too radical in some places. This is a horrible fucking program, and like, you know, just being like, but we'll get people to pay it back is not enough. The woke narrative tells us whatever is fixed, such as biological sex based on chromosomes, is fluid, but attitudes of the mind, such as racism, are immutable. We're hearing the counseling children. Yeah. A woman is an adult human female. This is like such a conservative, low IQ take. Like, an adult is a woman. Like, I'm not with the right when it comes to their understanding of gender theory. I'm not a fucking TERF. I'm not going back to 1990s feminist definition where women need their fucking safe spaces, etc. I don't like this. I don't like it's just them trying to fucking, you know, get right-wing people into their party. It's dumb as far as I'm concerned. Like, gender roles exist. I'm sorry, but like, fucking Dylan Mulvaney is not a man's man. I don't look at that and go, there's a real man. That's a man. No, it's a fucking biological male that's playing the role of woman and doing so poorly. Aesthetically doing pretty good compared to most trans people, but like, in terms of like, you know, behavior, doing so very poorly. Gender abolition is ideal. I'm sorry, like, the cat's out of the bag with gender, with gender being a thing. Woman is anything with a warm hole. It sounds like something you tell your boys at fucking 1 o'clock in the morning while playing Xbox there, Swirly. Essential is right. Again, the recognition of biological sex is central to women's rights. Again, this is 1990s feminism. This is, or maybe 1970s, but right. Amendments to the Sex Discrimination Act. Women need to be protected by the state. The state needs to get involved to make sure that there are women, you know, women-based protections. Like, no, dude, fuck off. There is no such thing as women's rights. There are human rights. Women are not some special fucking category that the state ought protect or defend. And it is destroying our culture and our society. You want to know why dating is so bad? You want to know why the modern woman is so fucking narcissistic? It's because we have a cultural obsession with women and protecting women and women's rights and women in the workforce, that we've created useless fucking jobs in our market for women that don't need to be there. And we've created all these special protections, and we have all these welfare systems that are designed to funnel money from young men to single moms. That's what our fucking welfare system is predominantly based upon. We take money away from young men that are working hard, trying to build a life, trying to fucking find the means to be a protector, and then we give them to single moms that are struggling, and we give all these special protections for women to tell them that they're special and that they deserve the same viewership in sports, and college ball has to be there, and we have to protect, and we have to funnel money to them in all these different ways. And then what does it create? It creates this false equality between men and women, because men are having to work harder so that they can support a tax burden of women that don't work hard. And now all of a sudden, there's no more chivalry. There's no more fucking women looking for men to be providers. There's no more consistent family structure. Oh, isn't that crazy that when you take money away from men and make it harder for men to be providers, and then women don't need to look for men as providers because they're making the same money as them, and if they become single moms they can get all this welfare and bullshit anyways? Like, no, this is a destruction of the culture and the natural fucking differences between men and women via the state. Women have become overwhelmingly narcissistic in the West. I'm not saying they have narcissistic personality disorder, right? I'm not saying women overwhelmingly have NPD. I'm saying that narcissistic traits are being incentivized in the modern world because of state involvement. And it all starts with women's rights and women's protection and women's safe spaces. It actually starts with Social Security and taking care of the elderly and other government programs, but it gets exacerbated by that bullshit ideology. You know who does have NPD though? The Transformers. Yeah, I mean, well, they have cluster Bs, predominantly narcissistic personality disorder, but a lot of them are like unassigned. I think, and again, I've made many arguments. You can see me on Benjamin Boyce talking about this, or you could look at my YouTube series. They make their own science discussing this. I think what they really likely have is covert vulnerable personality, narcissistic personality disorder. Store the legal definition of woman. Yeah, sure, I guess I'm not for this. Protect women's only spaces. Women's only spaces can go fuck themselves. Just protect private property rights. And if they want women's only spaces and their private property, let them have it. If they don't, they don't. Keep the government out of public bathrooms. Keep the government out of all of this shit. Protect women's sports with female-only categories. No. If a sports league wants to fucking have the troons fucking go at it and women want to be in part of it, let them fucking do it. And let other colleges say, go fuck themselves. But this is what happens when you have government funding of colleges. All of a sudden, now we have to have these women's protected spaces because you have fucked up the market's ability to provide an education and provide sports and provide things because you have all these tax breaks and tax incentives for universities. And you have all of these like, oh, you get a tax break if you build a fucking new stadium because it'll bring in tourism, etc. Like, get the government out of incentivizing sports, get the government out of subsidizing sports in college, get the government out of subsidizing college. Just let the free market handle it. And if fucking troons want to have their own weightlifting competition, let them have it. I don't care. Protect the freedom to provide appropriate counseling. Yeah, I mean, any laws prohibiting such counseling or mandating gender-affirming care will be repealed. This is good. Immigration. All right, what's the libertarian immigration? The Libertarian Party believes in private property rights, including the right for property owners to exclude unwanted guests. Nice. Immigration policies must respect taxpayer contributions, protect access to public services, and infrastructure. No. Public property is anathema to private property. You cannot mix public property with private property rights. And this is coming from a Hoppian, right? I'm a Hoppian because it's the only strategy that wins, not because I think the government, like public property, is sacred. I'm a Hoppian because you have welfare systems and because you can't have until we can abolish all welfare, which means abolishing public schools, abolishing public roads, abolishing all public property, it becomes a fucking government forced integration. That's why I'm Hoppian. I'm Hoppian because it gets us a step closer to truth, which is private borders. You cannot fucking talk about public property as if private property rights apply to public property. They fucking don't. Australia's public infrastructure, yada yada, is not private property, but neither is it unowned. The strongest property... Okay, hold on. This is a pretty Hoppian answer. I might have spoke too soon. The strongest property claim over this infrastructure lies with the past and ongoing net taxpayers whose money and hard work built it. Living and working in Australia is nearly impossible. Fees are necessary as well. Okay, the Libertarian Party supports a merit-based immigration system that aligns with blah, blah, blah. Over the current points-based system, seeing highly skilled immigrants relates to low-paying jobs. This is actually fairly Hoppian. Yeah, I mean, Praxa, if Liquid Zulu wants to talk with me about that, I mean, I've had an open debate with Liquid Zulu on borders and immigration. Like, he said he would do it like a year ago. We did it like a year and a half ago. We did one. And then it kind of came back up, and I was like, no, I'd love to revisit it. And he was like, yeah, let's revisit it once my buddy sets up a website. And then every time I bring it up, people are like, he says he'll debate you. And then I'm like, all right, well, let's go. And then I hear nothing from him. So I don't know. Immigration. I mean, I could hound him about it, but like the moment is kind of past. You know what I mean? Like, kind of waiting for now might be a good time again, now that Trump's doing all these deportations and shit. Market-based immigration fee would address this, reducing the current bureaucrat. Actually, this is a pretty Hoppian thing. This isn't too bad. Welfare should be reserved. Actually, I kind of agree with this. Like, their opening paragraph had me worried, but this is pretty close to what I want. Phase out the bureaucratic quota system, implement an immigration fee system. Yeah. The only thing I don't like is this merit-based system. Like, it should just be an invitation-only system. right? Like, just if someone invites them, invite them. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's a corporation. I don't care if it's a family member, whatever. They'll put up the fee and they can invite them. And then, they should be a co-signer on anything that they do. So whoever invites them, if they violate laws, do property damage or whatever, whomever invites them also should co-sign on them for the cost of deportation or the cost of damage of, like, if they, damage property rights or whatever. So, I mean, I would tweak this to some degree, but this is a pretty good transitory system so long as we recognize that, like, welfare is a problem, which they do. Yeah, I would say corporations can invite. I would also say that NGOs should be able to invite, but the problem is that there's no guarantee that any NGO isn't receiving tax money, right? So, like, our taxes are just massively funding NGOs, so it would basically be taxes paying for it again. So, like, I would bar NGOs from doing it until such a time that NGOs can no longer receive taxpayer funds. Restricts access to citizenship. Live 10 years, citizenship test, yeah, that's fine. And demonstration that they're self-sufficient, that's fine. Restrict welfare to citizens only. I mean, you should restrict welfare to everyone. You should abolish welfare, but, like, this is fine. How long would the naturalization citizenship take in your ideal society? So in my ideal society, there would be no citizenship. Like, I wouldn't have a citizenship at all. I would just have, like, I would have a requirement. At most, I would have a requirement that you're insured by a rights enforcement agency. And if you're visiting, you can, just like when you rent a car, you get, like, insurance on like a rental car, right? Like, I would just require some form of renter, like a temporary insurance. And if you live there, you have to have permanent insurance. I'd have no citizenship tests or anything whatsoever. And so, like, if you're fucking some Somalian, low IQ Somalian with no skills, you're probably gonna have a high insurance costs and not that many job skills, and so the market would naturally kind of, like, drive you away because your insurance would be really expensive and you wouldn't be able to get a job to afford the insurance. That's how, like, I would just let the market deal with that. Oh, advocating for right now. I don't know. Like, I would say, like, I don't know. Because, like, because the Hoppian invitee system is only a transitory system that allows us to remove some elements of the state and get back to and get closer to a private property market oriented solution. Right, it's not a justifiable position in the sense that, like, this is how immigration ought be. It is, hey, I'm not going to get abolishing all welfare, abolishing the state, and abolishing borders. Like, that's not going to happen. And our current welfare system with open borders is like, they want to, like, people like Zulu, they want to individuate it and say, well, it's like, you cannot support any system unless it's open borders. And it's like, okay, but if you do open borders with our current system, then what you have is forced integration, because we still have the Civil Rights Act of 1965. We have all of these laws on the books that say you can't discriminate against people. And then we have a system that creates and gives welfare to these people from people that are living here. And it's a destruction of the economy. Like, it's an exacerbation of all kinds of other bad shit. And so it's like a Hoppian system is not a justifiable position and, like, this is what the state ought to do. This is a strategy to reduce the problems that we have and try and push libertarian philosophy, right? So it's like, I don't really have an ideal amount of years to gain American citizenship. I'm just putting forward a solution or a prescription that gets us closer to what we want. If someone said you would be down to debate me on Hoppian versus non-Hoppian and Capistan, not sure I understand what that means. So that's what they said in chat. I said that, like, we had a debate on immigration a long time ago. We had kind of agreed to do another one, but, like, the whole Dave Smith thing went away. Dave Smith wouldn't debate you because he's a pussy. And then, like, as time went on, like, it kind of became less relevant. But I'm saying, like, I would do that again now, because obviously immigration is, like, a hot button issue, especially as it pertains, like, deportations, like Mahmoud Khalil. It's kind of like we were talking about earlier. like these mass deportations and stuff like that. So yeah, like I would be willing to revisit that. I don't know exactly what Praxeb meant by like Hoppian versus non-Hoppian and Kappistan per se. Because like I think you and I both would agree that, like we initially want a full private border system. Like, I don't know that means we need to have like Hoppian covenant communities or whatever, but like we would both eventually be against, we're both against the state having control over borders. Like we have a disagreement on that. Sort it out as in schedule something. Yeah, sure. True. Trump kind of brought the hammer down. Let's sort it out in DMs. Yeah, DM me. I should be free. I don't know. Like I'll sort it out in DMs after stream because like I have a lot of other stuff coming up. But I definitely would like to revisit that. Avoid entangling alliances with global bodies. Amazing. But long story short, I don't know like there is no ideal as far as I can tell like time before citizenship is granted. Because again, like I said, in my ideal world, there wouldn't be citizenship, there wouldn't be a state. And even in a covenant community, I wouldn't do something like citizenship. I would just have like a rights enforcement agency, and like at the most, like my community would agree you don't get to come here unless you have some form of insurance. Is this a Destiny stream? When is the debate starting? If this is supposed to be the Destiny stream, let me check back to Twitter. Yep, nothing. He said he was open Tuesday. And then I responded and said, hey, I'll debate your ass Tuesday. And then we didn't ignore DMs. He just hasn't answered DMs. He like talked all that bullshit, but then he's got nothing to say and he's nowhere to be found. Found your channel a week ago, and now all I do is binge watch your videos at work. Would love to see you in a debate with Matt Dillahunty. Dillanunty? Is that, I don't know if that's a joke, a community joke. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to debate Christians or atheists, to be honest, on like this secular humanist bullshit or their tradcon Christian rights come from God, and I've proven it with this dumb syllogism that is like just not true. Hold on, let me view. His fans were on your ass about you not challenging him to a debate too. Yeah, like I was like, what are you talking about? I said I'd debate him. Yeah, I didn't know who might come in because of the Destiny stuff. I mean, I have some other stuff, Liquid Zulu coming in. So like, I just have like all curse words banned right now. God, I love being cringe. I'm a citizen of Earth. All right, freedom, free speech. Sure, free speech in the Constitution, enshrine free speech in the Constitution. I'm kind of bored of this. I want to get on to, I will revisit this. I'm sorry, Trexamon. I like some of it. Some of it, like I said, some of the words they use, this pragmatic shit, their idea of like the flat tax being like a reward really fucking pissed me off. Their immigration policy is, it's okay. It's a Hoppian strategy, but it's like half a Hoppian strategy, which I think is even worse. But I mean, you get what you get and you don't throw a fit type of thing. They're really good on energy, I'll give them that. But yeah, let me get into this Sam Seders Jubilee thing. I've heard that they've been taking down streams pretty regularly. But fuck you, Jubilee. If you try and take down my shit, I'm doing a reaction video, and I'm doing a reaction video. You can go fuck yourself. It's clearly fair use. And we'll get through we probably won't even finish the fucking video, to be honest. Probably only get like an hour in before I'm like, all right, this is dumb, I'm out. And also, yeah, please make me famous by, copyright striking me. Because like, I'll just fucking fight you. And what are you going to do? Take me to fucking court? Like, please take me to court. I beg Jubilee to take me to court to try and sue me for reacting to one of their videos in the way that I react, which is like takes like triple or quadruple the length. We're like clearly fucking transformative. You will make me famous. I appreciate all that you will do to help me and my channel grow by being asshole cunts and trying to abuse IP. Fuck IP. This is the guy that ambushed Crowder. Yeah, this is the guy that ambushed Crowder. Sam Seders has like a show. He's debated a couple of ANCAPs. I've tried to get into his call-in show. It doesn't really work that well. I'm going to try and do it again next week if I can. Find out when he is. Get a Google phone number again, and try and get on again. I've tried to get on a couple times. Got ignored a couple times. Well, like once. Another time he was sick, so they didn't do the call-ins. But he basically requires you to call in on your phone. That's how he does the overwhelming majority of his debates. Is you call in on your phone, and then him, Emma Vigeland, and at least 2 other people that he has on computers researching shit do like a 4v1 debate against you while you kind of have like phone quality call in. And like that's how he's like the champion of debates, is that he 4v1s you, and then they all gish gallop, and like Emma Vigeland will say like some crazy dumb shit, and then he'll like ignore what she said, so that you have like 10 points you have to address, and then the moment you start saying something, he'll interrupt you and be like, wait a minute, can you clarify what you mean by this? So it like puts distance. He tries to intentionally put distance in between the crazy accusations that were said that were not true and like your conversation, and constantly move the conversation in an ever shifting goalpost so that all of those accusations don't get answered. And like to people that aren't that good at debating, it works really, really, really well for his like lefty audience, and making it look like he just utterly crushes people. But really, it's just an extremely bad faith way of doing the debate, where it's 4v1, where there's a lot of fallacies that are used, where they take over, and push things with a lot of fallacious like goalpost shifts. And then he kind of plays dumb while doing it. Like, I'm just a normal guy, I'm just this is just how I feel about things, and I think we disagree. And so he goes on like these like random sophistry little rants that have nothing to do with the topic. And again, it's all designed to put space in between other people on that aren't him, like Emma Vigeland and like the 2 people helping him, where they make accusations against you, and then you never get to address those accusations. So he's one of the biggest pieces of shit, and he's also one of the most popular debaters on the left. But he can't debate worth shit. That's why, like, when he went on Tim Pool, he got bodied by Tim Pool, and Tim Pool is not like some god tier debater or anything. He just runs a conservative hosts, and most of what he does is discuss politics. So so he is he's really bad faith. He's really dishonest. He's really bad at like being able to have like when you see him in a debate, when he doesn't have a team of researchers with him, even when he does his research, it's really, really bad, and he's just not capable of dealing with any like difficult things that he hasn't already thought of, right? Like he'll look at the empirics or what the experts say, and that's kind of all he has. Is like, oh, I had these opinions, I looked at some research, and these opinions agreed with me, and so I have those numbers to now bring up. Don't those numbers own you? But when it comes to like philosophy, or where you get at things, or understanding mechanisms of how things work, or when it comes to things that he hasn't researched, he kind of just he shuts down, and then he plays dumb. So he's that, which is why he's so popular, right? Because he's bad faith, and he appeals to a lot of midwits. That's why he's one of the more popular people. But I'm just here to shit on it and to laugh at it. And also, I don't know who a lot of these conservatives are. I know this lady, like, is like famous in Canada or something, like worked for like Redux or something, magazine or something. And she was the one that got viral. But I'd be interested to see what's going on. You can see that this Wignet girl, that Sam has no rhetorical method to actually address her. Yeah, like I saw some clips. I don't really remember it all, but I saw enough to be like, oh, this would be interesting. I'm just checking Twitter, making sure I don't have any DMs, Actually, let me check Destiny, see if he's live anywhere. Destiny's offline. And
the trans athlete.
Yep. So he's not online or anything. So he had free time, but not to schedule anything with little old me. I guess he forgot, You would think with all that Adderall Destiny's taken that he could focus and he could remember that he said that he would be open to debate somebody on Tuesday and check his DMs, but I guess it's not helping. Let's go.
What's the problem with xenophobic nationalism? Don't you think that's better for Americans in general?
To be xenophobic nationalism is better?
We should have a coherent culture. Everyone should be a part of the same culture.
Which, do you get to choose what the culture is?
We already have a dominant culture.
I mean, look, I got to be honest with you.
Clip this and quote tweet all of the challenge him Fabian comments on Twitter. Yeah, right? Like fucking hold on, what's the time stamp? 1:45 roughly. Maybe I'll do that when the stream ends.
Like you and I have a fundamental disagreement. We will never see eye to eye on this. Hi, I'm Sam Seders.
Yeah, I like how she's like, I'm a xenophobic nationalist, and then he just goes, we just disagree. Like, fuck it, like that's what's like, dude, you hit a wall. Like you're getting cooked by fucking wignats. Like, come on, dude.
The host of the Majority Report, and today I am.
But I want to see it in the full context, right? Because I've only seen clips, so maybe like the clips are like edited in a certain way. But most of the clips I had seen have been the left being like, oh, look at how good Sam Seder is, and I'm like, dude, he's getting cooked because he doesn't know like basic rhetoric.
Surrounded by 20 conservatives. My first claim is Trump's attack on DEI hides his real goal, which is to give corporations more power.
What? It's to hide his real goal? I mean, like, you could make the argument that Trump is focusing on DEI as like so that people don't like pay attention to other things, right? Like, but the two aren't necessarily linked in that way in any way, shape, or form. I'd be interested to see him try and make that link. But like, you could make the claim that it's like a distraction, right? To get the media all riled up to talk about racism and race issues and shit, whilst he's secretly doing other policies to give corporations more power, right? But it seems like most of what Trump is doing is less about corporate power and more about getting rid of regulations, which is what gives corporations power. The corporations which largely push said DEI, well, I mean, they kind of work in tandem together.
All right. Sorry, Sam.
No worries.
All right.
Yeah, also, I've seen other people talk about this. There's a lot of conservatives here that look gay as fuck. Like, this guy looks like I'm just saying, you know what I mean? Like, he doesn't look like he does. I mean, I don't know if they did that on purpose. You know what I mean? They grabbed some people that look like they're lefties or something. Like, that's part of the shtick or part of the allure. But this guy definitely looks hella gay.
I think I have a slight issue with the back end of the premise. I guess Trump's attacks on DEI being a real goal to, give corporations more power. I'd rather center the conversation around the Democratic, especially as conservative.
Hold on, you said you xenophilic libertarian, bring on the blue bitches. I mean, Liara to Sony and Mass Effect did some strange things. I want to touch those head tentacles, boys. You know what I mean? Like, the only thing that sucks is, you get with one of them and you never get a son. You only get daughters. Like, all the estrogen in the house, like, I don't know if I could deal with that.
I'd rather center the conversation around the Democratic, especially as conservatives, the issues that people have with DEI and why I believe Trump would, want to support the issues that, people are voting for him for.
I mean, I'm talking about his whole attack on DEI. It's actually
okay. Yeah. So he starts with word salad of nothing.
People are voting for him.
I mean, I'm talking about his whole attack on DEI. It's actually DEIA, right? You know that, in government agencies. The A being for accessibility.
Right. Yeah, and I think the attack on DEI isn't an attack on people's protections. It's
okay. Yeah. What is that? Like, this seems like it's actually DEIA, okay, or it's ESG. Like, it's like, it doesn't matter what you name a push for anti-meritocratic systems to be in place in government agencies, when government agencies already have had for decades a serious problem with nepotism and a difficulty to firing people, right? Like, it doesn't matter if we call it environmental, sustainable, social governance. It doesn't matter if we call it diversity, equity, inclusion, or diversity, equity, inclusion, accessibility. Like, that's just like a meaningless point to be like, I did my research, meh. Like what's your argument?
Right. Yeah, and I think the attack on DEI isn't an attack on people's protections. It's on the other end of the spectrum, right? Wanting to end DEI doesn't want to end protections for someone being disabled, someone being, inaccessible to get into a job. It rather wants to de-incentivize corporations to push them to hire these people on unfair bases, right?
Okay, but DEIA is not about quotas or anything like that. It is about protections for people within these organizations, or to make sure.
What protections? There's no protections for these people. Like equal opportunity employer has been a law in the books everywhere, right? Since like the 90s. And the government has had similar things that aren't diversity, equity, inclusion initiatives. They're not fucking human resource meetings that tell people in government agencies that, being too concerned about being on time is actually white supremacy, right? Like that's not fucking about protecting, minority groups in this country. That is about pushing an agenda to hire people that are, of one skin color over another group of people if they happen to be, similarly qualified. Especially when we talk about like government, like the interview process, like if you ever try to get like a GS job in government, right? Like you're applying for like a GS5 that scales like a GS7. And if you get promoted, it's like a GS11 to GS13 position, right? Like when you're talking about those, like these processes take like months and months and months. And it is such a bland thing where there's very, very little. It's very little about like how the interviewer feels about you or how the panel feels about you. There's very little personal kind of preference that goes in. And it's more about like, did you hit all the keywords? Because your resume, normally should only be 1 to 2 pages, but for a government job it's supposed to be like 20 pages so that it doesn't get in the shredder because whatever computer program they were looking for, you didn't have the right term for like, you use company card or something, but you didn't use like the specific terminology for the job, et cetera, et cetera. Like it's a very impersonal thing, very long process. And so these DEI initiatives are just a means of boosting certain demographics over other demographics. It's not about protecting people from some racist government employee that's just out there to hire the whites. That's what EEO shit is for, and that shit is much, much older than DEI pushes.
Sure that.
So like that's just a lie that Sam Seders is parroting.
About protections for people within these organizations, or to make sure that you have different communities that have the opportunity to apply to these things. So it can mean within government agencies, it means things like let's pay interns so that not only wealthy people can have their kids do.
Let's pay interns is not fucking DEI. Now, so this is the first framing he's doing, right? Where DEI essentially magically becomes anything that is good that the left agrees with, right? Like DEI has fucking nothing to do with a policy saying that we ought pay interns. Okay, that's literally just grabbing DEI, right? Which is a specific talking point of the right, to talk about different types of programs that promote demographic groups over other demographic groups as opposed to meritocracy. And now he's going to be like, anything that the left likes that is good, that sounds good, is now DEI. And now I can prove that Trump is after people for this reason. Like, that's bullshit. Like, DEI has nothing to do with that. So he's lying about it. He's saying it's protections. Now he's saying that it's, paying interns. It's all these good things. And he's trying to appeal to conservatives being like, well, yeah, unpaid interns is kind of a bullshit thing that only favors like, silver spoon socialists and wealthy people. And I agree with that. So like, maybe I don't understand this. He's muddying the water by redefining DEI to this massive scope so that when people begin to attack certain aspects of DEI, he can evade those attacks and say that they're talking about something specific that isn't actually DEI. And then he can, try and again be like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. And he can play dumb later, which is part of his shtick.
Do internships in these agencies, or let's put out notices around different parts of town, metaphorically speaking, so that people know this job exists.
This is where it begins, but this isn't the ultimate goal that conservatives have an issue with. Conservatives don't have an issue with trying to spread job applications to poorer communities.
Well, then why rescind DEIA requirements in government agencies?
Because the problem with DEIA is there may not be like perceived actual number quotas, but that's what it.
Right. So now he's tricked this young man into using his language with DEIA, right? He has tricked him into utilizing language that some programs have as a name. Okay. And he feels stupid if he continues to use DEI. So instead, he's going to continue using DEIA. But what this has done is this has now opened the gate to say that being against DEI means getting rid of things like accessibility, like wheelchair ramps, or, recognizing that someone with one arm can still have a government job because because they're just as fast as typing as other people for whatever whatever. Right, he has tricked him into expanding DEI because DEI was never about a specific one government program somewhere. It was about recognizing wokeness or this philosophy that is invaded and that is pushing diversity, equity, inclusion. But again, it could be sustainable government. It could be governance. It could be all of these different things. But what we were talking about ultimately is unmeritocratic hiring practices that favor minorities over whites and sometimes over Asians, which we're really talking about is programs that give white women jobs.
It devolves into, and especially with corporations.
Do you have the evidence of that?
I mean, sure, we can look at.
As an ANCAP, do you have to be culturally conservative, or does that clash with an atheist? Well, I'm an atheist, right? I would think plenty of ANCAPs are atheists. I tend to be more objectivist in my philosophy outside of libertarianism. But I have a lot of respect for Christianity, and you would probably consider me a right-winger on most social issues. I went to Liberty University for graduate school, for crying out loud, right? Where like every single assignment I did had to quote the Bible, and I had to tie things to be biblically accurate or whatever. I have respect for it in some degree as an institution, and what it did in terms of bringing forth the Enlightenment, right? You could say that it's in spite of Christianity, but I think Christianity was a step, right? It was a step in the process towards reason, right? I don't think you get people like Thomas Aquinas without Christianity, without Christianity's concept of logos and truth, but I do think that it is something we ultimately need to leave behind. I do think that it is something that has false premises in it. But as a libertarian, as an ANCAP, Christianity isn't incommiserate with libertarianism specifically. But in my entire worldview, it is incommiserate with stepping away from socialism. I think the biggest problem of Christianity is that it promotes and promulgates the concept of altruism, the concept of sacrifice, the concept that I am my brother's keeper and that I need sacrifice. You look at the Old Testament, you look at Judges, right? Most of Judges, especially you look at Amos, for example, right, in Judges, and you see that, God tells Amos that one of the reasons that Israel or, northern Judea is falling is because it is no longer taking care of the poor, and that they're not taking care of widows, and that they're not sacrificing enough of their own stuff to, prop up widows and prop up the poor. And to me, that is incommiserate with my world philosophy. That is wrong, right? That you have a God-bound duty to self-sacrifice for the community. Like, no. You should be selfish. And insofar that you are selfish, it's not good to have homeless people all over the street where you live, right? So charity can be an act of selfishness, but and when you do that, you'll find a way to profit off of that. You'll find a way to better yourself and the community. And you'll find a way to build a society that you want to live in. And that is what your selfishness is, especially if you have children, right? And you want the society to be a safe society that doesn't have crime, that doesn't have issues. Like, there is a means by which you can take care of the world's problems, maybe not you specifically, but that collectively, as trading individuals, as people that, have subjective values, that people can solve these problems. But when you start to say that people need sacrifice, what you mean is that everyone sacrifices. Human progress is stunted by this, by altruism. And what it does is it creates this concept of rewarding people that bring no value. Right? Like, you should help someone because you value them, right? If my brother, right, my brother is about to graduate high school. If he leaves dad's house and he falls on hard times and he calls me and says, "Hey man, I just need a little bit of money. like I'm having a hard time. Like there's, like this is my plan with the money that is going to help me get to a better place. Could you help me out? Right? I value my brother. He's part of my family. He has given me, he gives me things that I desire. And I know that I can trust his word because of the way that he came to me and he gave me a plan on how he was going to fix those things. Giving him money is no longer a sacrifice. I'm getting something for it. I'm selfish and that I value my brother and I want to see a better world and I don't want to see him hurt. And I know that he's going to work towards it and he's being honest with me. And there's all these great things that he's doing. But when you start to say you're your brother's keeper, altruism is good and selfishness is evil, then all of a sudden it's a real fucking slippery slope to you need to tithe and you need to give taxes so that like welfare queens can be taken care of because you have to help the poor. Well, I don't need to help the poor. Why are the poor poor? It depends on the fucking person. I don't need to give up and sacrifice my fucking prosperity, my fucking family, and what I want to see and do in the world and what I want to achieve. And or even if I just want to buy a fucking cheeseburger because it's a good restaurant and I want that restaurant to achieve success. Doesn't fucking matter what it is. I shouldn't be sacrificing, and humans shouldn't be sacrificing progress so that we can take care of the poor or the needy. That's my biggest problem with Christianity. It isn't even the, like the mysticism, which obviously, like your standard objectivists would take far more, issues with, right? But I do think it stems from that. And so ultimately that is the root cause of the problem, right? That they're not aligned to reason, right? But specifically that is kind of my issue with Christianity. But in terms of it being commiserate with libertarianism or anarcho-capitalism, yeah, I mean, you could very easily make that argument. In fact, I think a good Christian would be an anarchist, especially if you read Isaiah, right? Read Isaiah and read the warnings that God gives to Isaiah when Israel asks for a king, right? Like, what does he say? He says, like, we want a king so that we can be like the other nations. And what he is really saying, and then he's like, look, they haven't abandoned you as a prophet. They haven't abandoned, what they have abandoned is they have abandoned me. They no longer accept me as a king. Okay? They no longer accept me as a king. They accept, they want another king. That means that they've abandoned me. And he said, and he warns them. He's like, hey, tell them, a king is going to come in. He's going to take your sons and send them to war. He's going to take your daughters and force them into labor. He's going to take like 10% of the yields of your fields and your best horses. And he's going to put them into service for his own usage. Like he tries to give him like a consequentialist answer. Romans, look, I think like, Romans, there's an argument that Romans can be contextualized towards the people that letters are being written to, not as something that is, transferable to all situations. And then again, there's other evidence too, like, people often use Jesus saying, render unto Caesar what is Caesar and render unto God what is God's. And it's like, that's Jesus holding a drachma, knowing that he's going to be imprisoned if he says, don't pay your taxes. And the drachma that he's holding almost certainly claims that Caesar is God. And so he's being cheeky by saying, render under Caesar what is Caesar and render under God what is God's. He's being cheeky by saying, like, he claims to be God and he's not. And so what he's saying is, don't pay your taxes. Like, he's deserving of nothing. I mean, like, there are a lot of different ways to interpret it. You know what I mean? Like, maybe I'm wrong in my interpretation. Again, this is my opinion that I think a good Christian would be a Christian anarchist. You know what I mean? Like, maybe, like if we had the original, writers of the text and the people of the time here to answer our questions, I'm the one in the wrong here, but I don't think I am. I think there's plenty of evidence in the Bible to suggest otherwise. Your brother fulfills your desires. That's gay with a dash of something else. I like Christianity promotes individual duties more than collective. Yeah, I mean, I think Christianity, is better than other things and the ideas that it posits. I'm just saying, ultimately, I think it posits bad ideas.
corporations that are government agencies that are hiring people on not true, proper basis. We can even look at. Even look at.
Would you
the
have
DNC's,
any evidence that that's happening?
Yeah, even the DNC's nomination of Kamala as president this year. There was no reason to nominate Kamala as she wasn't democratically selected. She wasn't. She didn't go through a single primary. None of these things.
So you're saying that Kamala was the vice president of the United States after the president drops out 2 months before the convention. You think that's?
Yeah, Lactoid, he never answered my DMs. He never answered anything. He's not live. I kind of figured that this would happen, So I guess I wasn't that crazy for saying that, Destiny will never debate me because he knows he'll lose and I don't have enough clout. I was only correct in that I don't have enough clout for him to pay attention and look at his DMs. So yeah, I'm reacting to Sam Seder. Sit around, wait for a little while, see if he wants to debate. Eventually, I'll see if he'll reschedule, but he probably won't. At this point, I wouldn't say he's ducking per se, because he didn't leave me on red. He just never looked at his DMs. He said he's free Tuesday. I said, I'll debate you Tuesday. He responded to that post with quips and things. So he knows that he said he's free and I said I'm ready to go. And then there's nothing. And then I DM'd him, and I DM'd him Sunday. And then he never checked his DMs for a few days, even though, and I guess he forgot, like I said before, and I'll say it again, you would think with all the Adderall he's taken, he'd have enough focus to remember that he said that he was free to debate somebody on Tuesday and check his fucking DMs. But I guess he's just a little too busy to deal with little old me.
The DEI
she wasn't
higher?
Every presidential nominee is democratically selected to be the nominee for that party,
Do you realize
except
there were
for
not
Kamala
even
Harris.
primaries prior to 1972
Well,
in
sure,
the Democratic
but
Party?
this isn't before 1972.
Well, I understand, but what did you think you were going to run?
So this is more obfuscation by Sam Seder. This is this is the tactic he uses. Get you to agree to his terms, expand categories so that they're super vague. And then once there starts to become confusion in it, he has one of two things. He either pretends to be confused or he starts asking clarifying questions in the middle of someone trying to speak that subvert and distract. He's saying, hey, Kamala Harris wasn't elected democratically. She overwhelmingly had her ass beat in the primaries. Nobody voted for her. And then he goes, well, didn't you know that there weren't primaries prior to such and such? It's that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't change whether or not, she was elected democratically. I'm not pro-democracy, but people like Sam Seder claim to be pro-democracy, and yet he's doing everything he can to subvert him saying hey, she wasn't elected democratically. So which is it? Do you value democracy or you not value democracy? It seems like you value democracy so long as the results of the democracy agree with you, and then all of a sudden you don't really value democracy when it doesn't agree with you.
Primaries in those 2 months?
Well, sure.
Joe Biden should have dropped out even 3 years ago.
Well, sure, but even before, when Kamala was running in primary, she wasn't the next man up. None of this.
Well, no, she technically was the next man up. If I get what he's saying. Obviously, she's the vice president. She takes over and should have taken over. The moment he was elected, because that dude's mind was fucking slipping from the very beginning when he was hiding in a basement during COVID lockdowns. But she should have stepped in, in 25th and way before that. But nobody wanted to do that because nobody wanted Kamala to be president because, she got utterly fucking destroyed by Tulsi Gabbard. And then she had to drop out. So just to be clear, an atheistic worldview is compatible with a Hoppian type worldview. You can be an atheist and it depends on what you mean by both of those things, but you can be an atheist and a Hoppian ANCAP. I'll give you that. That doesn't necessarily mean that I don't know what you mean by an atheist worldview, right? Because I think that brings in a lot of other baggage. Most atheists tend to be like lefties, and they're consequentialists and humanist bullshit, right? There's a lot of things that I think are assumed by atheistic worldview. And I don't know what you mean necessarily by Hoppian type worldview, but yes, you can believe in covenant communities and anarcho-capitalism and be an atheist. I am one. Well, should she have taken over right when Joe was in? Isn't it better to have a riddled president than a competent one? Well, the problem is that the riddled president was, still had someone taking over in terms of, still had handlers that were doing all kinds of other shit. I meant should as an internal critique, Liquid Zulu. I don't mean should as in from my position. What what she should have done is taken over and then saying, I refuse to sign any legislation whatsoever in my power and authority as the president. I'm not going to sign anything because I wasn't elected, and I'm going to let, Congress won't pass any bills unless they override my pocket veto, and every bill that comes on I'm going to leave unsigned. So it's a pocket veto that like sits there for 30 days. And then if they vote, 2/3 majority, then they'll override me. But as my power of presidency, I'm going to do everything I can to, destroy the state apparatus and my power of the executive. But like, obviously she's not going to do that because she doesn't believe in any of that shit. I just mean like from an internal critique of their own belief system. Where's Destiny? Fucking nowhere to be found. Not reading my fucking DMs, that's for sure. Just saying he's free Tuesday, and let me just do my thing. All right, there we go.
She wasn't the next person.
She was the vice president.
Right, of course, but she wasn't in primaries.
Detail. But listen, aside from, I would have...
yeah, I just liked and retweeted it.
That might have wanted a different candidate as well. But that has nothing to do with Trump rescinding orders that basically say you need to search for a wide range of candidates, not necessarily give any different benefits, but you need to make sure different communities have access to the awareness of this job. You need in your office accessibility for people who have physical handicaps.
Sure.
If you have folks who identify as as trans, you need to make it at least hospitable and not. This is all non-discriminatory stuff. That's what this is all about.
But you're cherry picking the portion.
Okay, so like this is the same problem that exists with public property is the same problem that exists within government agencies in their hiring practices, right? So when you have public property and government jobs as well, where taxpayers pay, these are conflict-inducing systems, right? They're unethical because they breed conflict, right? Like it's like when we talked about drug legalization, right? It's like, well, when you legalize drugs, all of a sudden, you have people smoking weed at parks and on the roads and all these other places. And it's like, well, what's going on here? Why is there all this disorder? It's the existence of public property that creates the disorder, not the legalization of drugs that have created the disorder. It's that now that it's legal, public property is now this place where you just like have a right to smoke weed and, shoot up heroin and do your L-shaped fucking, your alphabet fucking homeless people on the side of the road. And there's all this chaos, but the chaos is not the drug legalization. The chaos is the existence of public property. It's that some people want to use this property in one way and other people want to use it in another way. Like me personally, I'm a father with kids. I don't want to see crackheads and heroin addicts when I walk out of my apartment building onto the street and like take my kids to a park and then there's fucking needles at the park, right? But the heroin addict wants to go to a nice spot, shoot up some heroin and fucking enjoy the sun and see a bunch of fucking, nature. He doesn't want to be in an alley somewhere. He wants to be on a nice fucking park bench somewhere and fucking let the sun shine and fucking nod the fuck off and have the greatest nap of his entire life, right? But the problem is that without private property, I can't have a space that says it's illegal to do one so to protect the other and vice versa. The same thing is true with government jobs, right? Like there is this impetus that like, oh, you have to have a safe space for all people. Well, a private company ought not have that. Like, where's the private, like a private company should be able to say, I don't want a bunch of trannies at my like Korean spa. Right? Like this is a place that is designed for women to come to get naked and to get massages and to get facials and to get treatments and to like sit in like hot sulfur water and pretend like it does amazing things for their joints that a hot bath at home would have done anyways. Whatever, right? But what I don't want is I don't want an employee that's like, hi, I'm Linda, that's walking around with their fucking dick swinging down, right? So that's a perfectly reasonable thing for a business owner to go, I don't hire trans people and I don't let trans people be here because that's not what this business is catered to and that would drive away customers and that's not what my customers want and that's not what I want, right? But you can't do that in a government job because now it's discrimination and discrimination is wrong. Well, what the fuck does like why is discrimination wrong, right? Like I understand the argument that like saying I don't like black people is wrong morally and ethically to you. Of course, I totally get that, right? And that's a personal opinion, and like and that's one that I subscribe to. I don't think it's good to see a black person and be like, "Ooh, the blacks," right? Like that's not my opinion. But nevertheless, you ought to have the right to discriminate against people, just like you have a right to discriminate against people being tall. Just like are you dating? Are you discriminating against people being attractive or unattractive? But the problem is that there is this impetus in government property that you must avoid conflict by not discriminating against one group of people or one type of person, etc. But do they discriminate based off of who has a college degree or not? Do they discriminate against IQ? They should discriminate against IQ depending upon what jobs they're doing, right? I don't want a fucking 70 IQ air traffic controller. Do you? Right? No, I want someone that knows what the fuck they're doing and can do the job. And so you think, well, the problem doesn't arise from discrimination, right? And the problem doesn't arise, where the problem arises is that public property and public jobs are something that are paid for by force by everyone. And so because everyone is in, like, there is this, the conflict is that some of us would like the government jobs to exist. Some of us don't want to pay for them and don't want to pay those taxes, but we're forced to anyways. And so we are made losers in a might makes right game. And then in order to try and like resolve the very contradiction that they themselves created, they put in laws and policies that are anti-discrimination. But those anti-discrimination laws are only based off of the whims and the feelings of what we currently think is bad or good discrimination. It's completely and totally arbitrary, and it still doesn't resolve the contradiction that public property and public jobs and everything that the state does via force is aggressive and is conflict inducing.
Of DEI that even conservatives don't have issues. Conservatives don't have issues with making workplaces.
The whole DEI apparatus within our government was a function of doing exactly what I said. Had nothing to do with quotas.
It is unfortunate that those things get taken out, and there might not have been specific.
What else is he trying to take out?
It's trying to take out people getting jobs that don't deserve those jobs. People getting pushed into.
It's the economic calculation problem all the way down. Yeah, I like the economic calculation problem. I just prefer. I prefer Thomas Sowell and basic economics. I think it's just easier to communicate to normal people that taking most valued resources from their most valued means, or sorry, their most valued ends, right? So like there's their most, taking resources from their most valued ends to less valued ends. Sorry, I don't know why I got all said that weird. That to me is just a much easier way to explain the economic calculation problem than using the ECP. Like the ECP is a word we get as libertarians, but like when normal conservatives or normal, curious lefties come in, like they don't like trying to explain the economic calculation problem in that way. Kind of like, it's almost like it gatekeeps via the words to understanding the concept. I think so.
Trying to take out.
It's trying to take out people getting jobs that don't deserve those jobs. People getting pushed into positions they have no qualification.
There is no evidence of what you just said happening in these government agencies.
That's not true.
That's insane. That is insane. Okay, like if you give any preferential treatment to one group, it creates a downward pressure on all of those that aren't getting preferential treatment, right? So you're not wrong in saying, like, so for example, let's say I raise the minimum wage by 1 penny. It very well could be that there is not a single person when the minimum wage is raised by 1 penny in the entirety of the United States of America, right? Where there's not a single business that has to like lay off an employee, right? Or has to get or not be able to hire an employee when they would have hired an employee, because it's only 1 penny difference, right? So it's such a small change that it could be that no one fits, statistically, that no one fits in a category where they weren't able to hire someone, or they didn't hire someone, or they had to fire people because of the raise in minimum wage, right? But we know praxeologically that it creates a downward pressure on the labor market. Right, like that putting a price floor creates, that it pushes jobs out of the market, that it makes business growth slower, and that it puts downward pressure on the labor market by there being less availability of jobs. So low skill, low wage labor becomes more competitive, right? And so that is why Austrians always speak on the margin. I mean, fair. Right. So he's correct. And you could say that whatever those DEI incentives are, that there's no evidence that that people have been denied a job they were deserving of. No one deserves a government job, but nevertheless, you could be correct in saying it in that way. But what you can't say is that this doesn't create a downward pressure on people that are not of the race being targeted, and an upward pressure on the races being targeted, and that this becomes thus less meritocratic and more based upon the specific quality of race. Yeah, I know. I was just saying fair. I just wasn't going into a tangent.
I mean, we're not allowed to sit here and have notes and numbers to pull up for you. You can't,
Give me one example.
You can't ask me to pull up numbers when I'm not able to sit here and look on a computer for you, but these are problems that conservatives...
Sorry, you've been voted out. Please return to your seat.
Thanks, Sam.
See ya.
Okay, so...
Okay, hold on. This black guy looks like... Hold on. Oops. Hold on.
We know you like watching Key and Peele on
the talent. Last November, Barack Obama was re-elected president. And the black...
Hold on. It's like how all the black conservatives look exactly the same. Like this is what a black conservative looks like. Dude, the glasses, the hair, everything. That's all I could think of when I don't want to watch too much of this because Comedy Central will try and copyright me. But with the jacket and the glasses and dude, that's all I could think of is that Key and Peele skit of him being like, and we have a lot of diversity amongst us black conservatives.
I think the roots issue with DEI isn't what the previous gentleman was trying to point. Conservatives aren't necessarily have issues with those things like accessibility to people who might need help. The issue is, and I kind of referred to this before, when you have agencies and systems, what tends to happen when you have government overreach, big government, is that agencies and systems get abused. And I think unequivocally, DEI was heavily abused in...
Well, no, you don't need to make the argument that it was abused, right? Like that gets into even muddier territory. Just argue from principles that it creates a racial economic pressure on who gets jobs and who doesn't get jobs. That's wrong. Just stick with that. It's very simple.
In practice, it was great in theory. It's idealistic, which is sure is fine, that a lot of people can get behind, but it was abused in a lot of ways. When you have actors, like we're in California right now, when you have actors, white male actors who are being told, we do not white men, we're not gonna cast any...
Yeah, I saw that one. Driving Democrats and homeless people and to different, be like, oh, we'll get to the polling location eventually.
White men, we only abused in a lot of ways. When you have actors, like we're in California right now, when you have actors, white male actors who are being told, we do not white men, we're not gonna cast any white men, we only want this particular kind of gender, race, right? That is an abuse of a system. It's no longer fair, but more about just perpetuating one aspect of...
Well, it's like I get what he's trying to say, but the problem is that it's not a bug, it's a feature. That's what the system is designed to do. What's your critique of secular humanism? I just don't think I don't think it's based on anything. It's just preferences. Right? It's just it is a might makes right argument. It is inherently unethical because it is a might makes right argument. That rights come from, that are created by the state, and that at the end of the day might makes right, and that we have these ideas that are human flourishment, which are these subjective categories, and so it is okay for us to steal taxes, it's okay for us to force regulations so long as we get the end result that we desire. And the thing is that you don't have perfect knowledge, so you never really get the end result that you desire, and so there's always this dog chasing its own tail thing of we need more government, we need more this, we need more that. And it ultimately stems from the fact that it is a might makes right argument and is unethical by that metric, right? I would say that the only system that the reason that I can say that Christianity is commiserate with anarcho-capitalism is that there is an argument to be made for following the non-aggression principle from Christianity. I haven't found anything other than objectivism and Christianity seem to be the only ideologies that preserve or can be interpreted to preserve that idea, right? And so anything beyond that, right? Like, because Christians, as far as I'm concerned, start from the false premise of, you know, the primacy that rights come from God. But the thing is that that premise still says that rights are extant, that they exist objectively, right? And so, and because of that, because of that conclusion, you can make the argument through a Christian framework that the non-aggression principle is valid and that taxation is theft, right? And that, like, all of the things that come with kind of the libertarian worldview, most of those conclusions, right? The secular humanist says, no, might makes right. And that rights don't come from anywhere. They're just a human invention. And so we're going to do what's human flourishment, and it's a preference thing. And so they have no real argument as to, like, why their culture is better than another culture, because it's self-referencing.
You know, visual compelling aspects, because at the end of the day, what's going to happen is companies are going to say, well, we want to look the most diverse. Okay, and what that is it's moral grandstanding. Is that because we have more black women, we sell better soda, like that.
I got you.
That is not.
Well, that's getting a little far afield from what Trump's DEI orders are. But I can tell you, as somebody who was a sitcom actor in the 90s, I would walk into a room and everybody I would see would look like me, and I was doing a second position, which doesn't even exist.
You mean Jewish? I mean, it kind of walked into that. Everyone in the room would look like me. You mean Jewish? Yeah, like there's a lot of nepotism in Hollywood. Cool. And, like, okay, who cares? You don't need DEI pushes in fucking Hollywood. You just don't. Like, if the market demands it, the market will demand it. Like, dude, like, this is the problem, is that, like, DEI is, I'll just give you like a consequentialist kind of like look at it, right? If you want to feel from it that way. DEI gives us the Little Mermaid is black. The market doesn't want black Little Mermaid. Okay, white people don't want fucking the Little Mermaid turned into a black person. It's insulting to our culture. It's insulting to Brothers Grimm and, you know, Nordic and, you know, and cultural cultural mythologies, right? That we just start changing fucking, you know, race swapping stories and things like that. Okay, so white people don't want it. Black people don't want it because what the fuck is this tokenism bullshit? They don't get a story. They don't get anything. They just get, aren't you happy now that, you know, the Little Mermaid got made black and she's half black and, you know, and weird looking? And aren't you happy now? But you know what everybody, black and white, would love? Fucking some stories that are just like African folklore stories turned into high fantasy movies. Like, give me a fucking cartoon or a fucking anime or a movie about like fucking trickster gods in some village that like tricks two villages, you know, in like long ago into some all out war, and like, you know, a young hero that like learns to outsmart the trickster god and like, you know, and fight for his people or some shit, and it cast all fucking black people because that's the fucking setting. And let me tell you, dude, people, if you did it well, people would eat that shit up. They would love it. They would fucking love it. But we don't get that, because DEI is not about fucking telling stories or narratives or, you know, bringing things that people want. It's about forcing shit that people don't necessarily want, that conforms to a certain ideology that comes with a baggage of all kinds of bullshit like white supremacy, critical theory nonsense.
Anymore, where you do 2 pilots a year. And I was looking around basically every part of television when I was a kid. I was centered in some fashion. It was either this is about my mother, or this is about my father, or someone like me was centered. So, you know, we can argue as to whether or not Hollywood is overcorrected in some fashion. But on a governmental level, the DEIA directives that agencies were following for the past 4 years, there's nothing, I don't know what you mean by abuse on it, but there was no evidence that it was an affirmative action program in those instances. It was about anti-discrimination. You cannot discriminate against these people, and you want.
There's no evidence in any way, shape, or form that DEI is an affirmative action process. It's only about anti-discrimination. Apart from that just being completely bullshit, even if it were true, even if I were to accept the idea that there was zero discrimination, DEI comes with it's a part of a philosophy, right? It is a philosophical war within the state on which philosophy reigns supreme, an old school liberal statist position or the new critical theory that comes with critical race theory, that comes with intersectional feminism, that comes with queer theory, that comes with all of these philosophies that have baked in them all kinds of horrible shit, evil shit that is completely incommensurate with our current government system or with logic or reason in general as well. And so even if I were to buy that, we have so many examples. First of all, we have examples of the fact where, like we can look at, let's say for the BBC, for example, where they were specifically saying that they refused to hire white people and that was state funded, things like that. We've seen similar situations, though there are pocket kind of like outlier examples. When you have a philosophy where you have HR, basically government based, like where you have PowerPoint presentations and you have all of these different means of teaching this philosophy, and they're teaching literal critical race theory talking points to government employees, and they're talking about racial bias tests, and that like even the author said don't fucking work, and that it's just a familiarity bias test, over and over again, pushing a philosophy of lies. It's creating racial tension, it's creating all kinds of things. Secondly, this idea that like DEI in terms of government agencies is just about hiring practices is so fucking bullshit as well, right? Like when we look at, for example, we've seen so many government grants and funds that go out specifically to businesses so long as they're owned by black people. Okay, there's like we've seen, like there was a famous case of this woman that had turned away white people from her soup kitchen and told them to go was it in Minnesota, right? And had told, or maybe it was Michigan, I can't remember exactly, right? She had all of these grants that were specifically given to black businesses only and to black entrepreneurs only. There are all these programs that are specifically targeting, areas so long as they only benefit black people. Like that in and of itself is like, you can make the claim, oh, well, that's, to benefit black people because they're so historically disadvantaged. I'm sorry, it's 2025. Number one, it was never the right answer to give handouts to people as a means of changing culture, changing education, and changing, making a group of people more, more able to stand on their own 2 feet. But even if it was, in 2025, we still have to fucking deal with this. Like in 2025, like we're still dealing with the fallout of, shut the fuck up. Nobody alive today was a slave. The people that lived through Jim Crow are about to die. Like there's not like, we're pretty we're getting close to like no one that lived through Jim Crow is alive today. Like it's ridiculous.
Want to open up opportunities for a broad swath of people. Again, the internship is like one of the most material things that exist there, where the idea that you need to pay interns. And that's important because you want low-income people to have the same sort of like opportunities to see these things as wealthy people. My kids can maybe afford to do an internship for the summer instead of going and getting a job.
I think what's happening is we're talking about two different things.
Well, but I'm talking about Trump's.
Are you privileged because you're a Jew, or are you privileged because you're a white, right? Like, which is it that makes you so fucking beautifully able to afford, all of these things that black people don't get? Like, it's just, it's so racist. It really is. Like, it's I mean, like, newsflash, critical, wokeness is racist. 2012 called, they want their talking points back. But it just is, right? It's so on the nose. Like, these people can afford these programs that are specifically designated towards black people. It's like, dude, I grew up in the fucking projects. My mom fought tooth and nail. My mom was on welfare. And then she got jobs in the projects, got jobs and had to pay more money and had less spendable money because she was working. And still, she fucking, like, my mom, you know, used to sing and dance as a waitress on a showboat going down Richmond, and had a deal with her boss because she couldn't afford daycare to have me, you know, in a playpen on the boat where they were in like an office connected to the kitchen. Right? Like I was sitting playing with toys on a boat while my mom worked, because my mom was working 3 fucking jobs. And then my stepfather, you know, who's a piece of shit in a lot of ways, was working, you know, long hours as a plumber, and then, you know, faked a back injury or whatever. But, like, you know, so that he could fucking, you know, abuse her more as a narcissist. But that's a whole separate story. Like, I grew up poor. My family fought to get into the middle class, only to lose their home when the financial market collapsed, right as I was turning 18 and going out into the job market. Like, what fucking white privilege bullshit am I fucking flexing here, right? Like when my parents grew up poor, when I couldn't go to private school, when I was having issues in school, and like, you know, they wanted me to skip grades, and like, you know, like, but I couldn't, you know, because I was just dealing with a public school system that couldn't deal with the token smart white kid. And I'm not saying I was smart because I was white. I'm just saying I was in a area that didn't have a lot of resources, and I was fucking a problem. What did I get? Right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I got my ass beat on a school bus because I wouldn't sit, because I didn't want to give up my back seat. And they lied and said that I was calling them the N-word. And then I got in trouble, and the other kids didn't get in trouble when they started beating the shit out of me and kicking me while I was on the ground, and covered my entire body in bruises, whilst calling me slurs that I'm not allowed to say on YouTube for being a white person. And then they just accused me of calling them slurs. And that was the reason I got, you know, initially got suspended from the bus and suspended from school, and my parents threatened to sue. And then they just gave me assigned seating at the front of the bus and did nothing for those kids. Those kids that jumped me and beat the shit out of me and called me racial slurs. But I don't hate black people or anything because of that. I mean, like, I guess I'm lucky that I don't hold grudges like that or whatever. But, like, where's this fucking white privilege for me? Half my fucking family is from Appalachia, and they're all dead from heroin overdoses from the fucking opioid epidemic that got pushed by corporations into my fucking family's community in Appalachia after the fucking coal industry shut down. What fucking privilege is my white skin fucking giving me? Where the fuck is it? I'd love some. Just a little bit. But there's government programs to help people so long as they don't have my skin color, and somehow I'm the racist for being against that. Like our country has become a country where white men are shouldered with the tax burden of taking care of everyone else, and then they hate us for it. And it's like, you can only do that for so long before you start to see places full of fucking Nazis. What do you fucking expect is going to happen when you have a tax and culture policy that is designed to take young white men, take all their fucking money, give it to minorities, funnel through welfare, single moms like crazy, and then all of a sudden you're like, why is chivalry dead? Why am I seeing Nazis pop up that want to get all the brown people out of our country? I fucking wonder why. I wonder. It's almost like you created this.
DEIA rescission is a way of basically driving people out of these agencies, making it
You're saying Trump specifically, and I understand why you're saying Trump, but I think the American people as a whole have kind of, and I won't say whole because obviously it's not 100%, but a majority of American people have kind of rejected DEI because, again,
I don't think a majority of Americans know what DEIA is.
That may be the case, but again, my point is we're talking about.
See, this is the actually, you know what? No, I was going to critique that. That's a fairly fair point by Sam Seders. I mean, he is interrupting to make it, but that's a fair point. Most people, I think Sam Seders says most people don't know what DEI is, but he says DEIA, right? And so he's shifted it to this hyper-specific program as opposed to the philosophy and the overarching net of programs that are coming from that philosophy. And now he can make the claim that a majority of Americans, yeah, you're right. Majority of Americans probably don't know what DEIA is or what those policies look like in practice at each agency, et cetera. But they know what wokeness is. They know what critical theory is. They know what all this racist anti-white shit that's been pushed by every major cultural institution and government institutions for the past, 10 to 15 years are, and they're sick of it and they've rejected it.
Abuse of a system. What you're talking about is not necessarily what was happening. What people were seeing were, hey, because you're white, you can't do this. And liberals like to do this thing where they create systems, and then they created the whole idea of woke, and then they backed away, and then conservatives say woke, and then they're like, we don't know what woke is. They created DEI. Biden literally said Kamala Harris is being chosen because she is a black woman, and then all of a sudden, Democrats for the rest after that said that's not why she was chosen, even though Biden literally said that. And then we have this cognitive dissonance as if we're not living in reality.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's like, oh, DEI has nothing to do with it. I promise you, I'm going to put a woman on the Supreme Court, and that's why we pick the dumbest Supreme Court justice that was very light on pedophiles for some reason. Like, you guys, did we memory hole that? Did we memory hole that Biden was like, I'm going to pick a black woman, I'm going to pick a woman of color to put on the Supreme Court. Then he does it, and everyone was like, hey, man, we're looking at all her cases, and like, she just keeps letting pedophiles get off. Is this a problem? And everyone was like, you racist, you hate black people. And we were like, no, I just hate judges that fucking let pedophiles get away and give them the minimum sentencing constantly because they're underprivileged or some shit. And then we were all like, we kind of just all forgot about that woman says the dumbest shit every time someone asks her fucking opinion. like, did we forget about that? We just magically forgot that he said he was going to pick a woman of color to be the VP, and he picked someone that everybody hated, who's now can't stop fucking being drunk at events and going on weird rants about Doritos and about how Doritos really show the soul of America. What is a woman, right? The woman that couldn't answer what is a woman. They took the exact conditions they claim lead to violent identitarian black groups and turned those around on white groups. Now they wonder why white identitarianism came from. Right? 100%. It's like, where do you think this is coming from? You're doing it.
So Biden wanted to make sure that there was that there was an opportunity for a black woman to be his vice president.
Yes, but so why did Democrats move away from that and say no? It wasn't because she was a black woman. My point is that
it's not because she's a black woman.
But that's what they said. I can agree that it's not because she's a black woman, but that's what they said. Why did they say that then?
No, because there are plenty of black women, right? Like, he could have picked anybody, but he picked.
It's not like you're hiring out of a candidacy pool to be like one engineer out of 200 engineers. You're hiring for the next person, in the event that this dementia-riddled fucking, old man brain guy, whatever you want to say. Like, I don't want to make a medical diagnosis. I'm not a doctor, but like, he clearly had his mental faculty was never there, and in his last presidency. You're picking them to be, like the quote unquote, a heartbeat from the presidency. Okay, you should pick, presumably, the best person available, right? Like, you should pick the brightest, the smartest, the person that matches, the values that you represent, that represent the nation or whatever, the will of the people bullshit, right? But like, following their logic at least, right? And when you say, I'm going to pick a black woman, or I'm going to pick a woman of color, because Kamala Harris may or may not be black, according to Candace Owens. I don't know. Maybe she's half black, half Indian. Maybe she's just Indian and Irish. Who knows? But she does wash her collard greens in a bathtub. So I can't imagine what's blacker than that. Aren't we all excited that we have a woman that washes her collard greens in the bathtub for some reason? Regardless, like, that restricts the candidacy. Now, it could be that a black woman happens to be the most qualified, the best person for what it is that you're looking for, but it's statistically not likely.
Specifically her. You're positing the idea that there wasn't a black woman who would have been qualified for that position.
No,
and I don't believe that.
No, that's not what conservatives aren't saying.
Nobody is saying that. They're saying that there wasn't someone qualified. What are the qualifications for being vice president? Is that you're 35 years old and you're an American citizen. Those are the only qualifications. There's a lot of fucking black women in America that are 35 years old and American citizen or older. Okay, what we're talking about is picking the best person for the job and not restricting the candidacy pool based off of things that have no value. The only argument that you can have is that blackness, black skin color of some regard, is a value that ought be valued over whiteness. and that whiteness ought to be devalued. That by virtue of being white, I am less valuable in some domain. And you can't say that, you can't admit that without admitting that you're just a vile, racist piece of shit, which Sam Seder is. He's a vile, racist piece of shit.
Saying that there aren't, because again, even in the Republican Party right now, and in Trump's cabinet, there are people of color that Democrats pretend don't exist, like J.D. Vance's wife, and
J.D. Vance's wife is not in the cabinet.
No, but if J.D. Vance was a Democrat, his wife would be lauded all over everything because of her color of her skin.
I'm not here to defend the Democrats.
Hold on, pause. That's really true. I mean, it's irrelevant. Maybe it's not irrelevant. It's, if you're trying to elucidate kind of like the philosophy of this, but like he's not wrong at all. Like if J.D. Vance was a Democrat, you know what I mean? Like who had written Hillbilly Elegy and had fucking gone to Harvard and had served in the military and had married an Indian wife and had half Indian children and had done so in a very in religious garb. Like, dude, people would just be like, oh my God, this is the greatest guy. They would be gargling his balls if he was a Democrat, especially with as well-spoken and charismatic as he is.
Democrats' choice on every policy. But there is one.
But instead, they have to pretend like he has a baby face, and they try and blow him up and constantly use AI images that like make him look ugly and weird. And they have to be like, oh, he's weird. He's weird. He fucks couches. And then we're like, where did you get that from? You made that up. And they're like, it's just a joke. You're not for free speech anymore. It's just a joke. He fucks couches. Isn't he weird? The couch fucker. And it's just like, they're like grasping at straws to try and make J.D. Vance unlikable, and to try and make and they're like, oh, look at this video I found of oh God, now I can't even remember the last VP guy's name because he's so fucking forgettable.
Party in this country that is identitarian. There is one party that is represented and it is homogenous, and it is the Republican Party. 85% of Republicans are white. That's just the reality.
So does that
Some
mean
people
that,
don't necessarily.
Brother, like if you include white non-Hispanic, white non-Hispanic, 55% of America's white. Yeah, they tend to be more white. What the fuck? Yeah, white people tend to be more conservative. I don't know. Maybe because the Democratic Party has been vilifying white people for the last 15 to 20 years outwardly, and it's kind of been because they're just now saying the quiet part out loud. I don't know. Maybe that drives them towards the conservative party. White people also tend to be higher IQ than every other demographic in America except for Asians. Maybe that's driving them towards that. Huh? I mean, there's a lot of fucking reasons here. You claim that white people have more wealth. Okay, well, the people that want to tax less might be, I don't know, maybe that's more valuable to go to the people that want to lower taxes when you have wealth as opposed to the people that want to increase your taxes. There's a whole bunch of fucking reasons that white people might lean towards Republicans. What the fuck does that have to do with anything?
But there is one party in this country that is identitarian. There is one party that is represented and it is homogenous, and it is the Republican Party. 85.
It's identitarian and homogenous. Well, if it was homogenous, it'd be 100% white. And the idea that the Republicans are more focused on identitarian politics is something that should just have Sam Seder laughed out of a fucking room. That's just such a laughable, stupid thing to say.
5% of Republicans are white. That's just the reality of it.
So does that
Some
mean
people
that?
don't necessarily have a problem with that.
But here's the thing. You said even if let's just say, okay, that's true. 80% of Republicans are white. Does that mean that they're less moral? That they can't run an effective government? What does race have to do? What does race have to do? Hold on. What does
Donald Trump didn't have to say my vice president's going to be a white male.
No.
Because they all knew it was going to be.
No, this is the premise of DI. What does
So now white people and the Republican Party are just identitarian and they only pick white people. Doesn't Donald Trump have one of the most diverse cabinets in American history? Didn't Donald Trump pick a ton of fucking he picked this time, and he consistently picks female press secretaries. He has his White House chief of staff is a female, right? He has tons of what is he talking about? Like he didn't even, like he's just picking, like he's not even focusing on race or gender, and he has a ton of women and plenty of minority people. Like what? Like this is just obfuscating racist bullshit. Just Donald Trump didn't have to say that my VP was going to be a white male, because we all knew, because the Republicans they all love the white. Dude, the white identitarians, the Nazis, have endorsed Democratic candidates more often than Republicans because they're anti-capitalist. The white identitarians turned the KKK members all eventually became Democrats. They were Democrats, and then when the parties switched, they remained Democrats because they like government programs and they hate capitalism because they think it's a Jewish conspiracy against white people. Like, white identitarians don't like conservatives. But that's like way too deep down the rabbit hole political philosophy for adult like for Sam Seders.
What does race have to do with running an effective government? What does race have to do? If let's say DEI on the micro level.
I will tell you right. I got to dip early paying the early exit fee. I appreciate it nevertheless. Again, I've been advised that the early exit fee is $10. I didn't. Who said that? Yo, EOD, you didn't have to do that for me, but I appreciate you, man. I'll see you tomorrow for the debate with James Meese or James McKee, kind of like more of like a libertarian conversation. It should be a pretty nerdy conversation / debate. It should be fun. I'm excited for it. And that one is confirmed. And that one actually did read my DMs and didn't run away like a little bitch. I'm not saying that Destiny did run away like a little bitch, but I am saying that he didn't check his fucking DMs. And if I had a little more clout, or if I was, one of these crazy whores that, only had, 5 viewers and was, a hot e-girl that he thought he could fuck and, might say some crazy shit, he would have been fucking paying attention to his DMs, making sure he was, sending me some dick pics and some sex pics shit. And maybe, just maybe, sending me, non-consensual recordings of, and pictures of other people so that he can make sure he got me on. So apparently his DMs are just too full of that shit for him to check for the people that he said he was, had open time to debate.
Right
D on the micro level at McDonald's.
I'll tell you.
Am I going to get better nuggets?
I'll ask you a question.
If the cashier is black or white, what does that have to do with anything?
I'll
tell you what it. First of all, DEIA means that if you come into this,
do you get better nuggets? That's funny.
Agency.
That's pretty funny.
Does that have to do with anything?
I'll tell you what it. First of all, DEIA means that if you come into this agency or corporation, you're not going to be discriminated against because you don't look like everybody else.
Facts, Silver Ogre.
Or you don't have the same physical abilities as everybody else, or you may require handles on the bathroom or whatever it is. That's what DEIA does.
That's so fucking stupid because DEI doesn't fucking read people's minds. Okay, just saying, you're first of all, it's a lie because it absolutely discriminates against white people. Second, so that all of what you just said is bullshit because you're going to be discriminated against because you don't have these special provisions. First of all, second of all, it doesn't read your mind. It doesn't, no government program can stop people from being racist. There are a billion reasons to hire or not hire people. And if the state was just full of racist people that only wanted to hire white people, they would find ways to do it. Because he had said earlier that DEI has no quota-based system. Well, if there's no quota-based system, they can just make up bullshit and say that they followed it anyways.
But does it make a government better if there's a broad representation of the people it's supposed to govern? Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Correct me if I'm wrong. And you guys can correct me if I'm wrong.
Without a doubt? No, I doubt like a motherfucker.
Regardless of DEI, don't we already have things in our Constitution that protects people's rights, protects people?
No.
We don't?
No.
Do we or do we not?
No, we do not. Tell me what protects people from discrimination in housing and in work and hiring or getting.
What are you talking about? All of the civil rights amendments do that. It's illegal for me to discriminate, and it's because of Constitution that you're not allowed to discriminate against when you're renting or in housing against race, ethnicity, gender, religious affiliation, and the ADA was interpreted from the Constitution, right? So the ADA comes from what the fuck are you talking about?
loans, it's all statutes. It's all statutes. And in these government agencies, there was
Yeah, the statutes clarify, then they get challenged in court, and then the Supreme Court says, yeah, commiserate to the 14th Amendment or commiserate to the Emoluments Clause, right? Like that this is why this is valid. Like what, like Sam Seder is saying like, oh, it's all statutes. It's all these things that are under attack. They're not like, this is, I don't know if Sam Seder's dumb or if he's just lying through his fucking teeth. But yeah, you're right that it's the statutes, but then the statutes get challenged in court, and then appellate courts or eventually the Supreme Court interprets whether or not those things are constitutional, and most of those anti-discrimination laws have been backed up by civil rights era and Civil War era constitutional amendments and things like the Emoluments Clause and things like the 10th Amendment. Like just because a right isn't enshrined in the Constitution doesn't mean that you don't have that right. Like there are a lot of constitutional interpretations of those protections that then back up those anti-discrimination laws. Just because the fucking Bill of Rights doesn't say, and thou shalt not say black people can't rent apartments, it doesn't mean that those aren't constitutional protections. So is it that Sam Seder doesn't understand how government works at all? Is it Sam Seder doing what he always does, which is play dumb? And he plays dumb and then gets aggressive with it so that the other person is confused by him not understanding something, and then he insipidly interrupts and interjects with more questions and more confusion to muddy the waters, so that any point that somebody makes is then buried in all of this obfuscation, and all that's left is the righteous indignation of Sam Seder, and Sam Seder's on the right side of history, and his own audience feels the emotional fucking rhetoric from him, and that's all they need to think that Sam Seder cooked somebody. It's so fucking gross that this even works on so many people. You know it's both? Yeah, I know it's both, but I wanted to go on to a rant.
nothing except for that order. That's why Trump just rescinded it.
I'm gonna tap out because I think someone else has a better, can defend that point specifically better than me.
All right, please return to your seat.
Okay, this guy I've seen clips of, and this guy is dumb with a capital D, and I feel like I kind of could tell that just by looking at him.
Hey,
how are you?
Good. How you doing?
Okay, when it comes to DEI, essentially, if a person was not racist, he would hire someone regardless, right? So why would we need a policy to protect a person if we've moved past racism? So would you consider yourself racist?
Wait, are you suggesting we've moved past racism?
Would you consider yourself racist?
I consider myself, and sometimes I think we all practice like some form of, white supremacy. I think actually like we all do.
We all are white supremacists. God damn, dude. Like you really like, he's really bringing out the CRT talking points today, baby.
To some degree.
Well, I'm glad that you're saying that. So I guess going to the LGBT topic, it seems like it's very prevalent for you as an issue.
Well, it seems like a big issue. I mean, the Republican Party spent literally hundreds of millions of dollars demonizing trans people.
Well,
okay, so I'm not gonna lie, I stole this from Asmongold, all right, but it's just it's a banger, all right. So I'm just, right. So I don't want to act like this is all me. And as much as Asmongold is like not that smart on a lot of things, he puts out some bangers every now and then. In order to die on a hill, you have to be someone has to be willing to kill you on it. Like this idea of like, oh, it's a big issue because Republicans care. Well, no, you're willing to make it, you're willing to fight it. So it's a big issue to you too. Like it is bullshit to act like it's only a big issue because Republicans care. We don't care. Like, no, you clearly care. You clearly care when you're pushing fucking sex and gender education in line with queer theory on fucking elementary school kids through your sex education programs. You clearly care when you're doing everything you can to push forward legislation and practices in schools where you can give gender affirming care to children and you can keep parents out of the loophole. You clearly fucking care when NGOs that are very aligned with left-wing politics are funding things like drag queen story hour so that we can force acceptance on children at a young age of your sexual proclivities in children's classrooms. You clearly fucking care in so many different ways. When you're like it's a lie. It is a full-blown lie that they use that is kind of like, it's kind of a trick of words to be like, oh, you guys care. Why do you care? It's like, well, you're fighting us on it, so you clearly think that it's important. So we both care. We both care about these issues. Let's talk about why you care. Let's talk about why I care. You care because, just like you said, that we all practice some level of white supremacy because you're buying the critical race theory slop bullshit. It's the same reason you care, because you think that we're all practicing some level of discrimination through upholding heteronormativity, because at the ultimate end of it, your ideology is a gender abolitionist ideology because you think that gender is an oppressive construct that puts false boundaries on the soul and the spirit of queerness. But Sam Seders probably not well read enough to even know what ideology he is following. And that's kind of like, what Carl Jung said, right? People don't have ideas, ideas have people. He is a mouthpiece for an ideology of which he only understands pieces of.
Well, the reason why they've done something like that, and I think you're misconstruing the narrative, they haven't demonized them. They simply want protections back for their own children, because children are being stripped away from
Who's
their
their own children? Wait, children are being stripped away from their parents?
Yes, due to AB 954, they've now included gender identity as a premise to remove and strip parental rights for children who maybe they are rejecting their gender ideology.
So, but you'd be okay with parents who agree with their children's doctors to provide gender-affirming care?
I do not agree with that. Do you?
I believe that parents and doctors can make those decisions with the kids.
If a child can't smoke.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. What if a doctor says that children should be able to smoke cigarettes? I think is what he's about to go into, right? Like, just because a child, the question is a question of consent, right? Can a child consent to permanently altering drugs and surgeries? Obviously not. So the next question is, well, in lieu of the child's ability to consent, can parents and doctors consent to permanently alter a child's body through drugs or surgical procedures just because the child, who's incapable of consent, because they lack the mental faculties or the level of reasoning to be able to determine whether or not they should or shouldn't engage in those actions, right? Do they have that capacity? And so the question becomes, is it or is it not child abuse? Now, I think the problem here is that there are edge cases, somebody like, let's say, Buck Angel, right, who probably would have benefited at a young age from going through transition. Like, Buck Angel probably would have benefited. Buck Angel had persistent, consistent gender dysphoria. Right, from a young age, Buck Angel as a girl was always not just a tomboy, believed in many ways that they were a boy, that they wanted to be a boy, that they hated being a girl for whatever reason. Okay, and I'm not saying that the appropriate treatment, for him is that. I'm just saying it probably would have happened. It probably would have been good for him. Okay, but so what does that mean? When we have all of these other people that are being forced into, not forced, but they are being persuaded into, who's Buck Angel? Buck Angel is Tran Paw. I've done an interview with him. That's a hat he wore, who is a porn star, retired porn star, female to male, transsexual, as he refers to himself. He doesn't believe in transgenderism as an ideology. Who was a model, like an androgynous model, that one of the first people to get gender reassignment surgery in California, and now fights against like queer theory and all this other and a lot of other bullshit, and gets attacked by both sides a lot of times because they're like, shut up, woman. You know what I mean? It's like, because they don't like him. But yeah, it's somebody who probably would have benefited. The problem is what we really need is we need a market mechanism to determine what's going on here. What we need is when a child comes of age, right, and all of a sudden they desist, right, or they detransition, they should have every right to sue the doctors and sue the parents that gave them permanently altering drugs and surgeries. Saying, look, I was a child when you did this. I was confused. I didn't know what was going on. Like, for example, I interviewed Chloe Cole, right? Chloe Cole did a panel with me at one point. I did an interview with her. That's the girl that you saw, the D-trans girl that, went around with Marjorie Taylor Greene that was fighting against a lot of this stuff, right? I did an interview with her. And to this day, I haven't heard her talk about it with anybody else. Maybe she feels bad about that interview and doesn't want to talk about it. Maybe she opened up to me in a way that she hasn't to other people. But she was sexually assaulted. She never talks about this, but she was sexually assaulted. And she hated her breasts. And she hated her woman form. And she was disgusted with her own body due to a sexual assault. And so she thought, maybe I'm a boy, right? Like maybe all this disgust and this body dysmorphia is because I'm a boy. And the psychotherapists and the counselors and everyone knew that she was sexually assaulted and felt disgusted about her body. And she specifically really hated her breasts, right? And they pushed her into gender transition. They pushed her onto drugs, and then they pushed her to get a double mastectomy. And now she permanently is like never going to be able to breastfeed. And she's not gonna be able to do many of those things. And she has a much more masculine, permanently altered voice. And she's one of the lucky ones, right? Somebody like her ought to be able to sue those doctors. And the burden of proof ought to be on those doctors. Because now that the adult is there, now that was a child, they're making the claim, I never wanted this. So the burden of proof should be on those doctors and those hospital administrators and counselors to prove that they're lying and that they're trying to get money. And that the only reason they're detransitioning is to get a paycheck from them. That's where the burden of proof should be. The burden of proof should not be on the child that said they wanted something, and now that they're an adult and they are detransitioning, that the burden of proof should not be on them to fucking prove that that they were like tricked or bamboozled or abused in some way. And so that's how we're going to solve this, by opening up the market to be able to sue these people. Because the moment you do that, overwhelmingly, these clinics are going to be like, hey, I'm not doing this unless you show me a fuck ton of evidence of persistent, consistent gender dysphoria. And even then, I'm going to go through like 20 sessions, try and figure out what's going on, really make sure that like this is what's going on and that this is the best possible treatment, because because this could be really expensive for me if I get this wrong. Like, that's how we should be handling this. This idea of like, oh, well, the doctors and the parents can decide. Okay, well, what happens when the kid grows up and detransitions and their life's ruined? Oh, oopsie. They did their best. No, they fucking didn't. There's an ideology and a pharmaceutical industry that are pushing this shit. And you ought to be able to fucking sue when people push this shit on fucking little kids and tell parents, just like they told Chloe Cole, you can either have a living son or you can have a dead daughter. Like you have trained psychologists saying horrible things to parents and that don't know what's going on, convincing them that they need to go through this thing that's going to get them tons of money and supports their ideology. It's evil. It's evil.
Drink or have sex before the age of 18, they should not be able to consent to a sex change. Now, in terms of a DEI initiative, the reason why there's military bans.
No, he should have shut up and let him go on that. I don't know that they can consent to that, blah, blah, blah. He should have picked him apart on that. But this guy isn't smart enough to do that.
On trans women and trans men is because...
Notice how he didn't let him interrupt? It's because Sam Seders knew that was a losing talking point for him. And so it's like, never interrupt your enemy when they're losing.
As they do not have the ability to cooperate at a mental capacity when they're constantly undergoing hormone treatment, as well as depression pills, as well as different mood stabilizer pills. And so when you go out to combat, do you really think you're going to bring an ice cooler pack with your whether that be hormone, estrogen, or whatever it may be, while you're about to shoot someone of the opposing war?
Well, the executive orders that Trump gave were DEIA orders that had to do with agencies that have nothing to do with the military.
Yes, they do. Yes, they absolutely do.
The FDA, they just revoked the ability of the Air Force to teach Air Force members about the Tuskegee Airmen. Well, what are we talking about here?
Okay, well,
honestly, like they're rewriting history.
Well, that's your perspective, right? But at the end of the day, if a person
I don't know. What the fuck does that have to do with like your combat readiness? Like, don't get me wrong, history's good to learn, but like, what does your awareness and understanding of the Tuskegee Airmen have to do with your combat readiness and your ability to, like, dude, get rid of that shit. That's not a necessary element of that's a giant waste of fucking money to be teaching them about the Tuskegee Airmen or to in any capacity, like Charlie Foxtrot Mike, right? Like, continue fucking mission. Like, stop that shit and spend money. Like in what way does more people being aware of past racism in the Army Air Force make people more willing to drop bombs on brown people in the Middle East? Please explain that to me. Are they like in fact, it almost sounds like they'd be more recalcitrant to learn about the racism of the Air Force to drop bombs on brown people in the Middle East. Like, what does that have to do with fucking combat readiness of our fighting force? Yeah, Sam Seders, that seems fucking dumb.
They're rewriting history.
Well, that's your perspective, right? But at the end of the day, if a person...
Tuskegee Airmen, we can all agree, existed, right?
Just listen to this. If you were racist, right, and you were an employer, and if you wanted to absolutely be racist and exercise that, you would. I think DEI sort of prevents people from seeing the reality. If a person truly wanted to hire you based on your intellect, based on your skill set, they would. DEI essentially provides tax cuts for the end of the year when you create your tax returns. They give you a tax credit for hiring someone who is black or a person of color.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that that's happening at a nationwide level. I think there are state programs and there are grants. It's not really usually tax cuts. It's usually in the form of like grants and things like that. But that does happen in some states and certainly in plenty of municipalities. But I think the worst thing that DEI does, really, more than hide and obfuscate racist employers, right? Because if racist employers are forced to hire black people or like incentivize against their will to hire black people, right? Like, that's tragic. But I think the really fucked up thing is like, imagine right now let's say you're a 22-year-old black girl. You can be mad at me for not calling her a woman. I'm 34, about to be 35 years old. I think of a 22-year-old as kind of a girl, right? So you're a young black girl, right? And let's say you're from I don't know, some fucked up impoverished family, right? Some did Duxany duck from the debate? Apparently, I don't know. He never read my DMs. He never responded to any of the call outs on Twitter. I mean, like, it's possible he didn't see it or that nobody told him about it. But like, I mean, at this point, you know, it's at 34. It's at 712 views. I mean, I can only do so much with 1,200. You know, if you want to retweet it, you know, be my guest, Mentis Wave. You have a much larger reach than I do. But I think the real tragedy, right? Like, let's say you're a 22-year-old, 23-year-old young black girl, right? And you're graduating with some form of like software engineering degree. Right. So you are now a software engineer. You got pretty good grades, but not the greatest grade. You didn't graduate like summa cum laude or anything, but you worked in some labs. You got all your certificates. You graduated, right? Like, you got, let's say, maybe like a 3.6 or something, right? So you got good grades, not the greatest grades. You went to a state college because like your family's fucking poor or whatever, right? And then you get a job at like Apple or Google or you know, some, you know, maybe not a tech startup, right? But like some big tech industry, Netflix, or, you know what I mean? Like one of these, Amazon or something, as a software engineer. That black girl will never know if she earned that job. And she knows that all the white autistic dudes in her office doubt that she earned that job. She has to drive to work every day, and they go, isn't it a wonderful opportunity that she got this job? But she didn't have the best grades, and so she doesn't know if the job that she got, she deserves. And no one else in the office knows whether or not she deserved that job. And what's worse is going to be what happens when she gets promoted, and she gets promoted to a managerial type of job. Right? Like a managerial type of job, right? You know, and she's in a meeting telling, you know, all the other people, you know, how many t-shirts is this job going to take, and yada, yada, yada. And they don't give a fuck about her opinion. and they're not really all that nice to her, and she can feel resentment from other people, right? And what's crazy is she's going to think, most likely in this current climate, in this current culture, she's going to think it's because I'm black that they treat me this way. It's because I'm black woman that they treat me this way. And be driven down for pushing for more diversity, equity, inclusion, more, SEG, social, environmental governance, whatever, right? She's going to push more of the very shit that caused her to feel that way in the first place. And the reason she feels that way is not because she's black. It's because nobody in the office believes that she got that job. And it's because she's a black woman. Because they know that she didn't go through the same meritocratic process that they went through. And that's why they resent her. And it may be true that she would have got that job anyways. It may be true that she would have got that promotion anyways. Or it might not be true. But no one will ever know. And she's going to internalize it as racism, as how white people and the Asians in her office don't like her because she's black and she's a woman. And she's going to push for more of this shit, which is going to breed more resentment and more racism from the white guys and the Asian guys that are having to fight uphill. And they're sitting there going, did she earn that position, or should I have gotten the promotion? They don't know whether or not they need to work harder to get a promotion, or if they're simply not going to get a promotion because they're just another white guy in the office. And they have to watch this bitch, as far as they're concerned, make $20K more than them to do a fucking email job while they're actually doing the hard work that makes the company money. And this job is catering to her as she gives these fucking seminars on racism and racial bias and racial sensitivity and all this other bullshit. She's not even using her software engineering degree anymore. She's just using the same fucking woke HR bullshit that everybody else is using. And they hate her and she hates them. And she thinks it's because they're racist, and she's going to push within the company structure for more things that cause the very problem that is weighing down this entire business, and mind you, weighing down American progress and progress in Western corporate success throughout the entire fucking world. That's a fucking problem. Like, that's a problem that's created by this shit, that breeds this racism. And you can tell it breeds that racism because they internalize that they themselves are racist. When asked, he says everyone engages in white supremacy. That was his answer to whether or not he believes he's racist. Everyone is a racist. Everything is racist. Racism is always here and it's inherent to us. There's no end goal to that. There is only pushing more socialism and more racial oppression of people that are perceived the oppressor, and only causing more pushback and more reaction and more Nazis. And there is only one of two solutions. Your ideology loses and you people go back into the fucking cave where you crawled from, and you people and many of you people pretend like you never held these positions to begin with because they're no longer popular, or rise in fascism. That's it. Those are the only two fucking solutions. There's no happy middle ground here. People can prove themselves at jobs. The real tragedy is the DEI jobs tend to go to minorities who are already wealthy. Your argument is okay. Yeah, fair enough. Also tend to go to white women, hilariously enough.
I don't know if you knew that.
In these agencies?
In agencies and private
in government
businesses.
agencies, they don't get tax cuts for hiring people of
the other
color.
thing I wanted
this is to protect people from discrimination.
The other thing I want to kind of state here is that I've realized that a lot of the times with the liberals is that you guys push for example, for DEI and people of Latino or Hispanic descent. And a lot of the times what you don't realize is you're actually doing more harm than good by putting them in positions where you make them believe that it's based on the color of their skin. It's based on...
DEIA does not... is not
it's based on merit. DEI emphasizes color, skin color, physical attributes.
It says that the people who work in your agency, it's about anti-discrimination.
Discrimination against what?
Against people who may have different cultural mores, may have different...
But that's irrelevant to a job, right? It should be based on merit. And that is the emphasis
People
here.
get hired as a merit, but if the DEIA, I'm talking about Trump's rescission of these orders
on these agencies. If you received a tax cut as an employer, wouldn't you hire a person of color?
Dude,
if you could pay them less?
Listen,
Right. His claim now is that, right, like he's talking about DEI within government agencies and Trump rescinding these things, right? And his claim is, which is like not true but mostly true, so it's fine, right? Is that the hiring practices are still based off of merit. Not really. It's mostly nepotism, right? But fine, right? There aren't programs at a wide scale, especially within the federal government, right, where they are incentivizing hiring one group over the other. When specifically talking about that, what they are doing though is they are pushing a philosophy in the workplace. And there are still humans that work in this place that are being taught all of these racist policies that are there to hire people, right? Like there are still there are humans that are making hiring decisions, okay? And at the end of the day, yes, you're going to have a candidacy where, like, especially with government jobs, where a whole bunch of people are weeded out because they don't qualify. But then you're going to have to pick between several candidates. And so if you have this philosophy being pushed that, like, whiteness is a problem and that there's too many white people and that white people have all of these privileges and that it's important for us to lift up black people and lift up black voices and all of these other things, then you're going to influence the hiring practices, right? When you talk about DEI as a whole, right, in corporate America, you're absolutely right that there is racial discrimination in hiring in these practices, that there are quotas within certain places, that there is pressure from ESG and like BlackRock and Vanguard for companies to get good scores, so they have to hire people not based off of merit but based off of skin color, so that they can then purport how diverse they are and all the diversity initiatives and the success of their diverse initiatives by how many people they've hired, so that way they can get more business loans and they can get higher investment, right? Like Tesla has low, abysmal ESG scores. Okay, how in the fuck does a fucking electric car manufacturer have low environmental scores? But Nike, that is using all kinds of conflict materials and using child labor in overseas factories, has much, much higher environmental scores. How the fuck is an electric car company that also makes fucking solar panels and power walls to make America green have low environmental scores? It's because they don't hire enough black people. Where he stops, no one knows, right? Tell Group Y they are oppressed by X. Conduct study that asks Group Y if they feel oppressed by X. Conclude that Group Y is oppressed by X. Repeat. Yeah, exactly. You said cobalt? Well, I mean, sure, but that would literally apply to every electronic company in the world. Conflict minerals are a problem for electronics, without a doubt.
Talking about government agencies that do not get tax cuts. Government agencies.
They don't.
No,
yes, they do. They absolutely do.
I'm talking about
every private and public sector gets tax cuts when you hire a person of color.
Government agencies don't pay.
Yeah, government agencies don't pay taxes. That's, I mean, like, they do pay taxes, but they don't pay taxes. Like for example, government agencies, individuals working at them pay taxes, and then there are some taxes that are paid. But it gets complicated and depends on them, especially like the post office pays taxes, right? Like, but then they don't pay taxes. Like, they pay certain taxes. Like, I think there are like some social security payments that get paid via, and that's just to maintain the fact that like employers are supposed to pay, what is it, like Medicare and Social Security comes out to like 7.6%, right? So they're paying that tax, but they're not paying like income tax or corporate tax. Like, there are other taxes that they're not paying.
Pay taxes. Government agencies are funded by the government.
That is not true. That is not true. And you know what? I think the whole juxtapose of this entire conversation.
What month is this?
This is
Ruh-roh. The stream might go down, boys. We'll see. I'm obviously within fair use, but somebody has put a some form of copyright strike. But it's not like a copyright strike. It's probably like revenue sharing or something. Jubilee is attacking the stream and utilizing YouTube's broken IP system to come after me. But it's okay. We might lose the stream, and that's fine. Oh, here we go. Damn. How do I fucking... Am I back now? All right, cool. So the stream came back up. All right, I was checking. All right. So obviously I can't continue to react to Jubilee's bullshit. Because they, violating copyright laws. And they should probably go to jail for type shit like that or something. I don't know, pay me. They owe me some money. I don't have anything else that I was going to react to. Again, I was planning on doing this Thursday, not today. Vosh moment. Saw that ass crack. Oh no, dude, you can see it again. I don't care. Here you go. Boom. It's an AI image. I have a whole list of AI image stuff that I got. None of it is like super inappropriate, but some of it has got some boobies and stuff, but nothing too bad. Just a random AI image. Yeah, it's AI. I have a bunch of like a folder of just some stuff I've stolen from other places, and some stuff is stuff I like put in myself. You can usually tell because the things I put in myself are black women with like black and yellow futuristic theme shit. I have a bunch of those in there. Yeah. But obviously, since the stream, the stream obviously didn't get taken down, they just temporarily blocked it. I'll fight that. Tell Jubilee to go fuck themselves. And who knows? Maybe it was just mass reported by a bunch of DGG. You never know. Maybe they're just mad because I won't debate their boy. But that was what I was planning on doing tonight, anyways. So I didn't have additional content beyond the Jubilee reaction. That was the backup content. So with that being said, I plan on doing a debate tomorrow. I don't have a strict confirmation, but here soon. Either this weekend, but most likely next Friday, I should be on the Culture War on Timcast. maybe I'm going to try and find a way to figure out when Sam Seders is streaming, and I'll probably set a time together with a Google phone, see if I can get on Sam Seders' program. Since I can't react to him on stream without Jubilee, abusing copyright, there's that. Autofuck, right? So it's either this Friday or next Friday, almost certainly next Friday, but I don't have a full confirmation. Because it's supposed to be with someone, but they have some stuff going on. Also, fucking Lisa Elizabeth online, I guess that's her name online. Dude, she's fucking hilarious. I talked to her on the phone. She's so funny. She was spilling the tea on some shit that I obviously can't talk about, and I was just dying laughing. Tim, I'm more of a libertarian Pool. Yeah, no, Tim Pool's not a libertarian at all. But to be fair, he's never met any, with the exception of Joshua Smith, he hasn't really met a lot of hardcore libertarians. He's just met little L libertarians. Dave Smith's the closest thing to a libertarian he's met. Dave Smith has a lot of issues. He's a paleo lib. He's great at communicating intro libertarian ideas to people. I have more respect for Dave Smith than I do a lot of other people, but he's not a hardcore libertarian that's consistent. But yeah, so that's coming. I have a debate tomorrow. So share, subscribe, click the notification bell, join the Discord if you want to make sure that you get the go lives, because the go lives don't always go. Again, as you saw in tonight's stream, I always answer super chats. You can join a membership, if you want some emotes, you want to be part of the community or whatever. But I think your money's better well spent on super chats. You can also donate to me directly through the StreamYards link, and that's super easy. And they take them and PayPal combined take 5% as opposed to 30%. But super chats help me in the algorithm more, I think, and it's a little easier for you guys to do. So either way is fine. Follow me on X or Twitter. If more of you followed me on X, as opposed to just having 1,200 people, if I had 289,000 people like Destiny, right? If more of you followed me on X to see my shower thoughts and to watch me do based crazy things, then maybe Destiny wouldn't have ignored me in the DMs after calling me out, and you would have seen a Destiny debate tonight as opposed to that. Don't have a Twitch. I was on Twitch for a long time. I still have a Twitch. You can follow my Twitch. Hell, you can even subscribe to my Twitch. And eventually, once I get enough money built up, I can pull that money from Twitch. Especially if you have a Twitch Prime, because you don't have a Twitch, but you have Amazon Prime, you could literally just make a Twitch and then use the Prime, and then it would give me a monthly subscription. I don't know if I'm still monetized over there or not, to be honest. Actually, I haven't looked at it in forever. Just because I'm not on Twitch anymore, because I don't want to get banned from Twitch, because then I can't go on other people's Twitch streams. That's why I'm on YouTube right now. But yeah, like I said, share, subscribe, consider joining, come hang out in the Discord, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for another debate. And stay tuned to figure out when I might be trying to call in Sam Seder, when I might be going on Timcast, and other wonderful things. Good things are happening, boys. I also have more time to stream now because I'm not taking care of my son and picking him up from his ABA therapy, because what's going on? Who's taller? You or Tim? I'm 6'5", so there's not a lot of people that are taller than me. I don't know that that's super amazing or anything, but most everybody is going to be shorter than me. It's just kind of how that is. Bullshit? No, I have a connective tissue disorder which presents the signs and symptoms of Marfan's, and which is similar to Abraham Lincoln probably had it. Michael Phelps has it. So that's why I'm super tall, most likely. But even still, my grandfather was 6'2". My dad was 6'4". Obviously, my grandpa's dead. My dad's had knee surgery and shit, so now he's fucking 5'11" and a half or something, and he looks so tiny to me now. I'm like, Dad, when did you get short? And he's like, fuck you, I'm 5'11" and a half. So everybody, all the men on my dad's side of the family are super tall. So yeah, my mom's side of the family are just average. So it's not that crazy that I was super tall. Anyways, my son, for example, is supposed to be, I think he's 6'3", according to what the doctors were saying when he was born, that's roughly how tall he'll be. So, yeah. But regardless, I'll see you guys tomorrow, or I'll see you on X when I'm talking shit, or I'll see you in the Discord. You know, come hang out, come be a part of the community. Either way, I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.